First meeting back in the remodeled chambers. So I'd like to remind us about the actions of our guiding principles and the actions we're about to take this evening. Are we raising the bar in all of our actions? Are we honoring the past but not living in the past? Are we building positive connections with our community and outside partners? And is the decision-making process building a diverse, equitable, and inclusive community? Please join me in the Pledge of Allegiance.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right, we have a published agenda. Are there any proposed amendments to this evening's agenda?
I would like to.
Councilmember, go ahead.
Okay. I would like to adopt a content of neutral policy regarding backgrounds during an official remote meeting.
There's a motion to create a policy relating to backgrounds and official meetings. Is there a second?
Second.
We have a motion by Councilmember Fenton, a second by Councilmember Chang. Councilmember Warden?
Yeah, Mr. Mayor, I'd like to move this to the first quarter of next year's study session.
If I heard you correctly, you're making a motion to continue this to a future meeting, and I heard study session. To a study session, and when?
During the first quarter of next year. Within the first quarter of next year.
Within the first quarter of next year.
Second time.
Okay, and
including in that, I'd like to, at that study session, have Jay present his council topics as well.
we had a retreat topic that was
We
council,
did.
a holistic council rules.
Yes.
And so is that the intent that we?
That is the intent, yes.
Okay, so, and is the second comfortable with that friendly amendment?
Yes, I am. I agree with that.
It's to holistically look at council rules, which would include the backdrops for virtual meetings and other things.
Absolutely. Follow on to the retreat.
Okay, all right. So I have a motion and a second to continue this to a work study in the first quarter
Mayor,
of next year.
point of order.
Yes, sir.
We had a motion from Councilmember Fenton and a
Correct.
second. Was Councilmember Warden amending that motion?
He is not. He is making a motion, a separate motion
Right.
to continue this to a future meeting
Okay,
date.
but so we don't have to act on the first
We do not
motion?
act on the first
I
moment.
just want to make sure.
And unless the attorney finds different, am I correct in my Roberts Rules interpretation? Yes,
Okay.
all right.
So
So-
that's
Just so we're all clear, the first quarter would be March.
I understand.
No later than March.
January through March. And it'd be holistic of all our rules,
Most
not just
definitely.
cherry picking one or two.
Most definitely.
Yeah. And hopefully be January, February.
Yeah, depends on whether comp plan and all those things that we've got going on get done by the end of this year and don't trail into the first, into January. So just kind of we'll look at the work plan as we get to the end of the year. So got a motion and a second to table this. Further discussion of tabling it. Anybody have any other input on that? All in favor of tabling this till the first quarter of next year, please say aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed? Hearing none, the item has been tabled. All right, any other proposed amendments to this evening's agenda? Hearing none, go ahead, Councilmember Rosepepe.
Mayor, I move that we adopt the, I'm sorry, the agenda as presented.
Second.
Got a motion by Councilmember Rosepepe, a second by Councilmember Trineri to approve the agenda as presented is what I thought I heard.
Yes, sir.
Yep.
There was no amendment. Well, there was an item. We did add an item. So as amended, you're correct. All right. So all in favor of approving the agenda as amended, please say aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed? Hearing none, the agenda has been set for this evening. We have our first citizen comment period. See no one in the audience. We've got a presenter. If anyone is online, please use the raise your hand feature. And the clerk is saying there is no one online. So we will close the first citizen comment period. We have a published consent agenda. Councilmember Morrissey, would you like to make a motion?
Yeah, Mr. Mayor, I motion that we approve the consent agenda as presented.
Second.
Motion by Councilmember Morrissey, a second by Councilmember Fenton to approve the consent agenda as presented. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed? Hearing none, the consent agenda has been approved. All right, we've got 3 presentations this evening. The first is by Daniel Gorman from Peninsula Community Health, and Brandy's got a slide deck for her. I had the privilege, gosh, it seems like yesterday, but it was probably a couple months ago because the sun was still out, and to tour their facility, and I was just blown away of the number of services and the quality of the facility. So I told Danielle she needs to come to the city council meeting and tell their story. So here she is.
This is very intimidating. Hi, I'm Danielle Gorman. When you guys said it was 10 minutes, I will have to skip a few slides just to make sure that I don't go over.
Brandy, could you move that panelist box there? It's on the screen. Do you see it? We've got a box on the screen that's blocking her slide deck.
Excuse me, Mayor. Could you please move the mic closer to you?
Yeah.
Thank you
Is
very
that
much.
better?
That's much better.
Okay.
Thank you.
Hello, everyone. My name is Danielle Gorman, and I am proud to serve as a Community Development Administrator at Peninsula Community Health Services. Over the past decade with PCHS, I have worn many hats, gaining invaluable experience across different roles. My journey here spans over 12 years as a certified medical assistant, more than 5 years in community outreach and engagement, and 2 years in administrative leadership. One of my most rewarding achievements has been helping launch our medical mobile clinic program, which serves the underserved and ensures that essential health care reaches those who need it most. A little bit about how I found my way to this incredible organization. I relocated from Salt Lake City as a single mother, carrying only what I could fit in my car and my baby boy by my side. I was escaping a domestic violence situation, seeking safety and a fresh start for my son and me. At that time, I was living in my car under the Kitsap Credit Union Everest College parking lot garage in Bremerton while pursuing my medical assisting certification, unaware of the resources that were available to help us. It wasn't until someone recognized my situation and connected me with PCHS that I learned about local food banks and job support. That introduction not only gave me the tools to rebuild my life, but also opened the doors to my future with PCHS, where I now have the privilege of giving back to the community that helped me stand on my feet. Next slide. Commitment runs deep. A few dedicated staff members have been part of our organization for over 20 years. These folks contribute to our legacy with their years of service. Our CEO and CMO have both been here for well over 20 years, a true testament to the strong commitment of our staff for our community health. This commitment is not just a mission statement, but a living reality made up by the remarkable individuals who make our dedicated team. Skip that slide. Sure. Okay, thank you. Meet our CEO, Jennifer Cradler-Moss, but most people call her JKM. She started the company in 2003 as a pharmacist, then became a pharmacy director in 2007, and was later promoted to CEO in 2013. When I started, in 2012, there were only 4 sites. Now we have 44. Our presence in the community has been marked by adaptability, resilience, and commitment to service. With the legacy of over 30 years, we've become a huge part of the community. Our longstanding commitment has allowed us to pivot with the challenges and evolve with changing needs of our community. During the pandemic, we embraced innovation to remain open, ensuring continuous access to vital services for our patients and everyone in the community. Our mission says that we are to be accessible. This is how. We're in Kitsap County, Mason County, Pierce County. We have patient transportation services, as well as medical, dental, and behavioral health mobile clinics. Our commitment to accessible healthcare is reflected in our 44 sites spread across 3 counties that include various models such as traditional standalone clinics, co-located facilities, school-based health centers, and a mobile fleet. PCHS offers multiple avenues for our community to connect with us, ensuring convenience and timely access to care. Our patient portal has seen a remarkable adoption with a portal adoption rate of 60%. With recognizing the importance of flexibility and to be able to accommodate diverse schedules for our patients, we have extended our hours in the evenings and open on Saturdays. We understand that health concerns can arise at any time, so we also provide after-hours on-call services. We are a low barrier and don't want finances to be a reason someone can't be seen. We have navigators and CHWs to work with patients to see how we can help with costs. We believe in making healthcare accessible to everyone. Our sliding scale is available to all, regardless of their financial status. And PCHS has proactively expanded our network to be contracted with most insurance providers. Our commitment to community health extends beyond clinical care. Through grants and donations, we offer patients help for paying for their care. Dr. Edwin Tegenfeld, our first medical director, left a lasting legacy that goes beyond his medical practice. His mother grew up in Kitsap County and he joined PCHS in 1991 after practicing in India for 20 years. The Tegenfeld Patient Care Fund is specifically designed to cover labs and diagnostic services. We provide a diverse range of medical services, including procedures such as IUD placement, casting, toenail removals, and we offer screenings, including PAPs for women's health. Our medical team includes physicians, advanced care practitioners, registered dietitians, clinical support staff, community health workers, healthcare specialists, and insurance navigators. In the summer of 2023, a pediatric provider group closed their practice, so we opened the PCHS Children's Clinic to serve their patients and expand our pediatric services. We welcomed 3 of their providers to our team. For services not available at PCHS, like obstetrics, we provide our patients referral services. Our nutritionists rotate across different clinics and provide patient education. You can see our comprehensive list of our dental services available in both our traditional dental clinic and throughout our dental mobile clinic. Our dental team includes dentists, hygienists, and dental assistants. A couple of our dentists specialize in additional dental services such as extractions and root canals. A distinctive feature of our dental clinic is the screening for depression. Every adult patient undergoes a PHQ-9 questionnaire during their visit. This unique approach fosters close collaboration between our dental providers and behavioral health providers. We provide integrated behavioral health services with our primary care framework, allowing seamless collaboration. Our primary care providers facilitate warm handoffs to behavioral health providers. Our behavioral health team includes clinical social workers, substance use disorder professionals, mental health counselors, psychiatric advanced care practitioners, 2 psychiatrists, and BH technicians. Our pharmacists also support BH services with medication management. As you can see, our behavioral health team provides comprehensive case management for our patients. As mentioned earlier, the behavioral health team plays a crucial supportive role for our dental providers, especially for patients who score high on the PHQ questionnaire. We provide comprehensive pharmacy services, including a convenient drive-through option at our Key Peninsula Clinic, and our 12 clinical pharmacists are dedicated to patient education and actively support primary care, dental, and behavioral health providers in delivering well-rounded care. PCHS offers, we operate a mobile fleet offering medical, dental, and behavioral health clinics. Throughout the community partnerships, we extend access to patients who may face barriers to traditional clinics. For instance, our mobile medical unit serves weekly at the Salvation Army, just a block away from our 6th Street clinic. Many of those patients prefer mobile services, finding comfort in its accessibility. Our dental mobile travels to Kitsap County Jail, ensuring incarcerated individuals receive dental care, often their first ever encounter with a dentist. Throughout the pandemic, our mobile team played a pivotal role where we were stationed at the fairgrounds providing crucial services like COVID testing and then vaccinations. To date, we've administered over 50,000 COVID vaccinations. We strategically co-locate with various nonprofit organizations to enhance accessibilities for our patients. One of our latest co-located clinics, Family Dental Care, is situated in the same building as the Boys and Girls Club and shares a campus with the Bremerton School District Community Gym. This is a popular gym that offers our little peewees a place to practice. We have school-based health clinics located in 5 different school districts. Some of our school-based health centers extend their services to include families of students and the broader community. For SBHCs that do not serve the general community directly, PACHS has nearby clinics and offers transportation to ensure accessible care for all patients. We collaborate with athletic directors and school nurses to support year-round sports, providing well child visits, immunizations, and sports physicals, as well as offering behavioral health needs. We are actively engaged in impactful community work throughout our dedicated community advocacy committee, which is a board level. This committee is highly involved in outreach efforts, such as participating in tabling events. Our staff, including community health workers and navigators, are certified SHEBA counselors under the federal program, enabling them to assist patients in navigating Medicare enrollment. Additionally, we offer care coordination services, including transportation services to primary care appointments for individuals recently released from jail. PCHS is dedicated to continuous education and training, offering a variety of on-the-job training opportunities, as well as hosting residency programs and clinical externships. We cultivate talent from within our community by collaborating with local schools. Through partnerships with our schools, we identify graduating seniors who expressed interest in our apprentice programs with a specific focus on opportunities in medical assistant or dental assistant roles. We actively engage in community volunteers to organize events such as Day of Caring. Additionally, our youth volunteer program is supported by our school partners. A shout out to all our board members who are dedicated volunteers. They contribute their time and expertise to our mission. A future of our PCHS, we have a 2-unit housing apartment building on 5th Street in Bremerton. We're partnering with the Housing Authority and currently looking for residents to reside there. We have Medical Respite, who we're hoping to open up in 2025. That is going to be on 6th Street in Bremerton next to Salvation Army. And then we have a mobile mammogram that we're working on getting up and running. And then we're always open to improve our access to care. And then here's our contact information. Oh, did I skip it?
So I know you're at a disadvantage because you had a whole team of people giving me a tour, and I saw on your slides you're serving in 3 counties 43,000 people, but the number you gave me for Port Orchard blew me away that day. Do you remember what that was on an annual basis? How many folks you serve at your Port Orchard clinic?
I remember it's 25 to 30 patients per provider, and there's often 10 providers in a clinic.
Yeah. So it was really an impressive operation there, and I mean, you would never know it was a public health facility. It was just so clean and nice. I was just really impressed, and I wanted Danielle to come and tell a story. So You guys have questions for Danielle and about Peninsula Community Health? Go ahead, Scott.
How is it going? I like to take a temperature read, or hear a temperature read in this case, about our medical profession and lack of nurses and dental hygienists and all that. Are you having difficulty finding people to do externships?
Absolutely.
And fill those roles? Okay.
Yes. We are consistently trying to be innovative and trying. We started our youth volunteer program in hopes to get the kids in to see what the facility looks like, to talk to people who are in those actual roles and get a good idea, and job shadow to see what that's like, in hopes to encourage them. Dental hygienists, that's definitely hurting everywhere, nationally.
And I presume you're working with Olympic College to help try and fill some of those gaps.
Olympic College and the high schools, yep.
Yeah, right. Okay, thank you.
Morris, you have a question?
Yeah, thank you for the presentation. Familiar with your organization, you guys do great work. I think anyone working for JKM, I mean, it just starts there and it trickles down, right? I mean, there's nothing that she won't take on a great challenge. So I applaud her and all of you over there. I think my question would be, what is your greatest need right now?
Our greatest need?
Mm-hmm.
Medical assistants, dental hygienists.
So I'm still just medical, okay.
That's the case in the private sector.
Yeah,
My dentist office can't hire enough hygienists.
National case, really.
yeah.
Other questions?
And I guess I have a follow-up question. How are your mobile clinics doing? The work you guys have done with your mobile clinics, I think, is amazing.
They're actually picking up quite a bit. I was the MA that helped launch that, and we were fully booked all the time, and then COVID hit. So it was getting back out into the community and building that trust all over again. So it's picking back up, and we're partnering with new people, new organizations to get more people in. I guess that would be another thing that we're hurting, is getting the word out there to people that we are not just a welfare clinic. We're here to help, and you don't have to worry about not being able to afford us.
I'd agree, right? I literally just had a great interaction with an employee at my business, and I didn't know, they were a client and had used your services, and I was like, oh, okay, and just understanding that better. So, yeah, it's open for everybody. I think that would be a great need, is getting that word out.
Yeah, trying to get rid of that stigma.
Councilmember Chang?
Can you tell me a little more about the housing, I don't know if it's a program or whatever, that you mentioned that there's the 2 units building that you're looking for tenants for.
Yeah, so we partnered with the Bremerton Housing Authority, so it's going to be a voucher-based, and I believe they go through the same process with KCR, but it's open to our patients, and it's 2 units for permanent supportive housing, so people who need a little bit more hands-on care and people who can follow them and help them. It's literally right down the street from our busiest clinic in 6th Street, so they have full services: behavioral health, medical, dental.
Is your organization looking for more buildings to do that with, or?
We are definitely looking to expand.
Okay.
I know she's definitely looking to build on this housing. We did just open Sage, which is our workforce housing, down in Bremerton as well, and that's taking off too. So she's definitely looking to open up that.
Warden, go ahead.
I really appreciate you coming today. Very informative for me. I have, unfortunately, few people in my family that could use this. How far out is your scheduling?
So
If you needed dental care, how far out are they looking?
we did just hire 2 new dentists, so I believe that we're, honestly, I don't know exactly. I know that if it's emergency, we'll get you in same day. But as far as maintenance, it's probably out a couple weeks.
I mean, my dentist, if I don't schedule right away, I'm not getting in for 6 or 8 months,
It's
so I could only
definitely sooner than that.
Yeah, no. So if I go on your website, which I have all your information, would I be able to schedule on the website?
You can schedule through the website, yep.
Yeah, and is there any kind of like income verifications or things that you need? What would be, what information would I need?
So to schedule on the website, you don't need any of
Anything.
income or anything like that. We
Okay.
would handle all that in the office if you needed
Perfect.
like a sliding scale or insurance and all that.
Yeah, I greatly appreciate you coming in today.
Yeah, and there's
super
also a
informative.
chat feature for people who don't quite understand.
Sure.
So we can help you through the chat feature if you
Yeah.
don't want to call.
Yeah, thank you very much.
Yeah, very.
Following up on Mr. Warden's question, is there I know you're like a low barrier organization. Is there an upper barrier, or can just anyone go and avail themselves of the services?
Anyone can use our services.
Okay.
Yeah.
Burrows Levy.
Just real quickly, again, echoing what everybody said, thank you for being here and educating us. How are you funded?
Federally funded. We're a FQHC.
Okay.
So federal funding, grants.
The check you're about to write them.
Yeah, if you're willing to help. That keeps us going.
All right. Thank you, Danielle. I really appreciate you being here
very
tonight. And the invitation is still open for you to come visit our Rotary Club.
Definitely, I'm going to email you.
All right.
Danielle,
Thank
your
you.
story of endurance was amazing.
Thank you. That's getting easier to share.
Thank you, Danielle.
Thanks for having me, guys.
Thank you.
And I neglected at the beginning of the meeting, Charlie's son had a play tonight that he was in, and she's there, of course, watching her son perform. So Randy Schaefer's here from Inslee Best and representing as our city attorney. So I'm sorry, I neglected to introduce you earlier. All right.
Point of order, Mayor?
Huh?
Point of order.
Yeah.
I know that we may have a longer meeting tonight with this budget. I know we already had our citizen comment period, but I don't know if we could go ahead and allow if these folks wanted to speak.
That would take a motion from you guys, and it's your meeting. So, but we do have a lot to cover tonight.
I know, it's just that we'd allow 3 minutes instead of having them sit through the whole meeting. I'd make that motion.
Seconded.
Motion and a second to reopen the citizen comment period. In favor of doing so, please say aye.
Aye.
Okay. Are you wishing to address the city council, sir? Yes. Okay, you've got 3 minutes at the microphone. You need to come up to the microphone, sir. Or maybe Randy can take the microphone to you.
Can you see me for?
I cannot.
Most of us can see you, not all of us.
I cannot.
He
Okay.
can't.
All right. Because this is from a lifelong. I was born in Harrison, raised right here, got in a lot of trouble here. I was hoping Judge Ruth was sitting up here, lifelong. I mean, from juvenile hall all the way through prison and all things. I was really hoping he would be here. That's a face I know, grown to respect. And I think we need a lot more of that from us to y'all, all of us, our law enforcement, our people in elected official positions. I truly feel misrepresented, as you saw from the NAACP sign. I've been here fighting for 3 years for reparations on the national level, which I understand that's funny to most people here. It really isn't. To my ancestors and many of my family members, it's not. And but the NAACP, the people I look to find solitude and kinship and a fight to fight with, they're rejecting me. Why? Because we don't speak the same language. It really feels like I don't have a voice. So I really do. I took a minute, wrote a speech, and I really do hope that this makes it happen. Here you go. Will you hold this, brother?
And so you have about a minute and a half left of
Okay.
your time.
All right. We'll make it happen. Peace, power, and American Negro reparations, specifically for the descendants of the American Negro Black freedmen community whose ancestors built this country with slave labor per the land's promise in Special Field Orders 15, January 16, 1865, excuse me. We've been watching
the border crises across the country, and how our government is choosing to deal with these problems in Chicago and Colorado specifically. Our own elected officials in power seem to be opening the floodgates, on immigration intentionally. Nobody seems to care how long these floodgates or sanctuary seekers will stay here or how many resources meant for Americans these individuals will discuss. As a proud member of the AMBF community, I feel like we as Americans are being erased by design. These organizations doing these things are the Office of New Americans and Cities of Action, which both fall under sanctuary city status. This isn't about the immigrants being coerced under the phones as long as they vote blue or red. Our government is the bigger problem here. Their mission seems to be giving our resources away. I am here asking fellow Americans.
Sir, your time is up for this evening. Your 3 minutes is up.
So I can't finish the last 2 paragraphs?
No, not 2 more paragraphs. If you had a sentence to finish, that would be okay, but you're granted
I have a speech impediment, so
Yeah.
I can't, 3 minutes just isn't working. I have 2 paragraphs. Literally, I understand it's y'all's time and energy. It's literally please.
Okay. We have a citizen comment period at the end of the meeting. If you wish to stick around at the end of the meeting, you could.
How long is that?
When we've completed our business this evening. It could be an hour and a half or more until we get to our second citizen comment period.
Okay, I'll stay. Thanks.
All right.
Mr. Mayor, he could also email us as well.
Yeah, you're more than welcome to email the council your remarks also. Okay. 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 All right. So we're going to close the impromptu citizen comment
Thank
period.
you, Council.
And
Could we get your name, please, sir?
Yeah, yes, sir. Jamin Mason. Jamin, Jamin, Mason, Mason, again, lifelong resident, been here my whole life. Yeah.
Thank you,
And
sir.
I appreciate y'all listening.
all right. Noah has 2 presentations this evening before we get to our public hearing and then our business items. So with Noah's first presentation is on the capital projects. You were given a very large packet. We're not going to go through all that. But Noah is going to probably go through 3 different projects. And then at a future council meeting, if you've got questions about any of these projects, you can either contact myself or Noah about, something that we didn't cover here tonight. But we'd be here an hour and a half just covering the capital projects. So Noah, you can take it away and talk about a couple of these projects that are in the capital program, and then he'll give you a feel for how the information is laid out in your packets.
All right, I will try to, again, I've tried this several times trying to share my screen. So if it freezes, we'll switch back and pivot. So we're going to kick off tonight's conversation talking capital budget. Again, we got to a nice stopping point at our last meeting, going through all the operations. Hopefully everyone brought their binder of materials. And if so, I can direct you to the tabs, which is the presentation we left off at last time.
And then, Noah, if I may, I see a capital projects update provided.
Yeah, you laid it on the dais this evening. I think that's what you're presenting tonight, correct?
Yes, so first we'll go through tab 4 in your binder, which really focuses on the capital projects and amounts included in our 25-26 budget. And then after we kind of walk through the biennial budget, we can talk through the additional handed out material. Just give you a second to get set. Okay. So hopefully everyone has their material, and we're looking at this slide here on the capital construction funds. So for 25-26, we have included $49,500,000 of capital projects. We identify it by fund here. Fund 302 is our general capital construction fund, followed by our street capital construction fund 304. Our fund 413 is our water capital construction. 423, our storm drainage capital construction, and then 433, our sewer capital construction. I think it's important to mention that these funds are generally restricted, as well as the revenue sources used for these projects. So we're going to first walk through Fund 302, capital construction, and what we have included in the 25-26 biennial budget. We have some additional funding, $1 million, $1,025,000 for City Hall remodel. We have South Kitsap Community Event Center and Plaza dollars. Both the City Hall remodel is really a rebudget, so we have a full project. A lot of these projects you'll see are rebudgets because we're not sure when the invoices will come in, whether they'll come in the next fiscal year, even though the work was performed this year. So we have to have some dollars in the next biennial budget in order to pay those invoices. So the City Hall remodel is a project like that, and so I'm using that as an example. The Community Event Center and Plaza is design work for the plaza. Givens Park, we've talked several times about what the Givens Park is for $485,000. So in total for a 302 general construction fund, we have $3.2 million. I guess maybe I'll pause there to see if there's specific questions on these projects. Questions? Move on, we have a longer list, $22 million for street capital construction projects. These projects have a myriad of different costs. Some are right-of-way, some are design, some are right-of-way design and construction. So for the first project we have budget up here is Bay Street Pathway right-of-way, acquiring more right-of-way for $1.3 million. We have TIP 1.7 Bethel Mitchell and TIP 1.7 Bethel Lincoln, both design and construction projects. We are currently under construction with Bethel Mitchell, but I do expect some of those invoices to trickle over into 25-26. When we started this particular project, it was generally referred to as one project, Bethel 1.7, and we called it Bethel Lincoln Mitchell. We took advantage of some funding opportunities, and we also had some funding challenges, which ended up splitting up the timing of that project. So Bethel Mitchell came first, and we expect to continue and complete Bethel Lincoln in the next biennial budget. But a lot of the staff think of it as one project because it has more from Bethel Lincoln Mitchell to a split in order to get some construction complete this year. TIP 1.2 is Bay Street Pathway Design and Construction. Again, some dollars for design, some dollars for what we say removal of the houses, provided we can get some proper approvals from the state and receive our mitigation dollars or our mitigation consent. TIP 1.8 and 1.9, Salmonberry, Blueberry. This is for Bethel Phase 1, again, design and right-of-way. I will point out that this $4.2 million is significantly funded from our TBD sales tax. So those are the revenue source for that particular project. Pottery is a rebudget, so it looks like a big dollar, but we are currently completing Pottery. So I would not expect to expend that full amount. And you'll see Pottery trickling through many of the funds because it's a multi-fund project. Same is true as SR 116. No, actually, we'll come back to this one. The SR 116 Bay Street reconstruction, currently $6.3 million. We have TIP 1.14 Sydney non-motorized improvements. I will mention that we talked briefly at Finance Committee, and we will, before the final budget is complete, we're going to add some more money for this project. There was a sewer component that was not included when we developed this preliminary budget, about $1 million. So as we get closer to adopting a final budget, I'm consistently talking with the Public Works Department and DCD. Have we missed anything in this budget? Make sure we're capturing everything for the 25-26. So this recently came up that there was a sewer construction element that was not included when we did this, so we'll make sure to have that included before we get to the final budget.
And that's the force main.
Yes.
We
So
talked about last week.
that's not a insignificant cost, I imagine.
$1 million.
No, I think it's
$1 million.
a million 20, yeah.
10-inch main. The 10-inch main on that?
I'm not certain of the size,
But
but
it's not general fund dollars.
No,
No,
that
it's
will
not.
be
It's
strictly sewer funded.
yeah, sewer capital dollars.
We have TIP 1.18, Tremont Phase 2 and 3. Again, that's a planning project, and that is primarily grant funded. We have the Anderson Hill Roundabout 245. This is another project that will add a little bit more funding to complete the design. I think roughly $55,000 more. This one is actually developer funded, so this isn't. This is cash we have on hand from a developer intended specifically for this area of the city. We have TIP 1.19, SB 160-280, and I'm going to ask Nick to speak to what that is, because I can't describe it correctly.
It's a triangle of land on Sedgwick Road near Bravo Terrace that is, when they put Sedgwick Road in, it was the main parcel's over here, and there's a little triangle stuck on the other side. And we need to, we have right-of-way services. Nick?
Yeah, so it's that, so there is a sliver of land, when we were talking to Multicare about building an ER in Port Orchard, it was on the north side of Sedgwick. It's a property that's located primarily on the south side. There's a sliver on the other side we need to acquire, but it's also the roundabout between Geiger and Ramsey. We have a 4-leg roundabout planned in our Bethel Sedgwick corridor plan, and we've had several people come in and try to develop in that area, but because private developers can't use eminent domain to acquire property, none of them can actually put in the roundabout to provide access to their sites, and so the city needs to do a preliminary roundabout design at a detailed enough level to determine what right-of-way is needed, and then we acquire the right-of-way as it's an impact fee funded project, but then ultimately our goal is for the developer to build that once we have sufficient right-of-way for them to make the improvement.
Much better said than what I was stuttering through.
So overall, currently we have roughly a $22 million street capital construction budget. Moving on to the water utility, we have some money continuing to this biennium for well 11. Hopefully going to complete that construction. Melcher Booster Station. Again, you'll see TIP 1.5 pottery is sprinkled throughout our utilities because there's elements that are for water, sewer, and storm. Again, SR 166 Bay Street, water's participation in that project for reconstruction. Well 7, we have design, which is again loan funded at $500,000. Foster mitigation. Foster mitigation is a part of our water capital plan. We don't have anything specifically identified right now, but we have $1 million identified for acquisitions in the biennial period. Last one for water is Old Clifton Water Main, 390 to 580 intertie, and we recently were awarded again another loan for $1 million to complete this design work.
That's the intertie to connect the city to the downtown system to the McCormick system along Old Clifton Road.
So our water capital budget comes to roughly $7.8 million. And we can move on to storm. Now, the one project I really want to point out in storm is the South Sydney Regional Storm Facility. The other two are, again, pieces of the other projects. So we have some design work for there, and that will be our first full storm CFC funded project since we have just established those CFCs earlier this year. Move on to sewer. We have the Marina project anticipating completion in the next biennium. Sewer lift station controls, again, pottery, again, SR 166 Bay Street. The South Sydney Ruby lift station design work, which is funded by the ILA with transit. And then lastly, we have Bay Street Sewer Lift Station Design, which is both grant and loan funded. We have $850,000 of loan proceeds, as well as $150,000 of grant to round out $15 million for sewer capital projects. So I wanted to walk through that document at this high level, because that's what we have included in the 25-26 budget. In your binders, you have that broken down even further at the GL level. And I wanted to go over again something that has been requested from Councilmember Morrissey. So hopefully this meets your expectations, or at least I'm working in the right direction. So what I have handed out on the dais is a capital projects budget update. And what I have attempted to do with the help of my colleagues is to identify each project, total project. Got to be careful how we define what the total projects, because some projects are a complete design phase, so that's kind of what we focus on. So the total project budget as well from a sources and uses perspective. So we'll just kind of walk through a couple slides. I intended for you to take this home and think about, because this is all the projects. It's a lot of material to go over, and I don't think that's good use of our time. But we'll go over a couple, allow you to ask any questions, because there are a couple projects that I do want to point out and talk about. So to kick this off, we'll start with the first page 3, City Hall remodel. You see it's an $11.3 million project. On page 3, we have the uses of the funds identified. So you can see in the table how we have broken down the project costs by salary, design, construction, consulting, and with a little bit of contingency dollars in there. Or if you prefer, to the right you see a pie table that represents the cost in a pie chart. Again, you see 90% of the costs for this project are for construction, which would be appropriate. Project spending to date, we have spent 74% of our overall project, with 26% to go for the remainder of this project. I just want to check and make sure everyone's following along with where I'm at. Okay. So then the next page, you'll find the sources of funding for each of these projects. So again, for the City Hall, we have $11 million of bond proceeds, and we have contributed roughly $300,000 of general fund dollars to round out this total project funding. So I just kind of want to walk through that so you have the layout of how to read the slides between the uses of funds, the expense side, or the sources of funds, the revenues supporting the project. So with that, I want to turn to Fund 304. And this will be on page, let me find.
Page numbers are off by 1 to us, though, too.
Are they? Oh, okay, because I printed the first one. That's probably why. You guys got the nicer set. That's okay. The one I want to talk about was where. It was SR 166, and that is on page.
$29?
Yes. 29 in our packets and
29?
In ours, I think.
Yeah.
You're probably 28 for you.
That's the one you're talking about.
Yes, there we go. Page 29. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Okay, so I did want to talk about this project because this recently got some project cost updates from when we prepared the budget. So you'll refer to the budget document. I think we got a $6.5 million project. Recently, our Public Works Department updated some cost figures, and the costs have risen. So now we are looking at what we believe is a $10.6 million project. Again, the pie chart kind of identifies the elements, construction costs. Streets are $3.5 million. Water has increased $800,000. We have some storm drainage money at $650,000 roughly, and sewer construction at $820,000. Again, we haven't really started this project, so we got 98% to go. So we're just in design phase. But this is a project, again, I think would be good for the Public Works Department and the council and the mayor to talk through, because it's a large project. It's right here, right outside the city's hall. So I didn't want to completely ignore that one as we walk through this capital budget. With that, I want to give my Public Works Director an opportunity if he has any comments to talk about this project, any updates to share.
Thank you. So this is a very complex project. It's going to be a lot of discussion in the coming months as we prepare to finalize our design. Some of the changes that we're talking through are improvements to dewatering downtown in the events of these king tides. This will have a stormwater lift station. So if we do encounter flooding in certain areas, we will be able to pump it out of this area as part of this improvement. There is value engineering going on with our staff. Our city engineers identified some opportunities to keep costs under control. We're going to utilize some existing storm lines, some existing storm line outfalls, even one that's been abandoned. We're looking at using the current generator for the marina pump station as the source for the power. It's already been run, so we're continuing to look at those efficiencies where we can save.
So Dennis, but I don't believe that pump system was part of this project, initial project.
Correct.
It's a future project utilizing an so this will rebuild the road, we'll get new storm infrastructure, and we'll have the ability to, with trash pumps in a wild storm event initially, be able to keep up with, it's probably 2 days a year where we get those king tides, and it happens to happen in November, and so we will have catch basins located on the water side of the street that we don't have right now, where we'll be able to put a trash pump into that and pump water to keep so when the outfall is underneath the high tide. And then a future project that we're planning for that ties into this is the pump vault that Dennis is referring to. And so then we will have an automated process for that. But we know when these king tides are, this solution will work in the interim until we can later afford to do that stormwater project that is the automated solution that we don't have to bring staff in, because inevitably it's on a Saturday or Sunday when that high tide comes with the heavy rain, and so we've got to bring people in and have them standing by waiting for that rainstorm. So,
But just so I'm clear, because there's a lot of timelines thrown around here, but that interim solution will be with the project.
the interim solution is all new storm infrastructure, raising the road, undergrounding power, new sewer lines, water lines, street trees, sidewalks. So we get a complete street out of this, and street lights and everything. The last piece, though, because we've gone from a $6 million to a $10 million project already, is to place a vault that'll tie into this, and then be able to put a pump in that vault, and so that we have an automated solution when those heavy rain and king tide events happen.
That's what I want to be clear on. That's a post-project event.
That's a second project that isn't funded as part of this $10 million.
We're providing just the conveyance for that future need.
We're stubbing all that conveyance out.
Yeah.
And-
Okay. Which makes sense.
I just wanted to be clear that it isn't all, there isn't a bow on all of it yet, but we're doing 98% of it.
Two more down. I do want to point out, one reason for the cost increase is because we are looking at the timeline here. We expect this to be in 2026. So we are factoring 7% increase in costs by the time we get to 2026. Also, this includes $1.3 million of contingency. So that's how you get to the 10.6. So a couple of factors hopefully will work in our favor, but capital projects continue to rise over time. Also, on the second page, on the sources.
Got a question, just a second.
I would more of a comment, Director Krugart. Thank you. This was what I was looking for. If we look at the next fund, which is what, 413. There's a great example in the first project there, which is well 11. For those of us talking in the community, it helps when I can say $751,000 are local tax dollars funding a $9.3 million project, right? So just very appreciative that we can have those conversations and have that information at our fingertips. So thank you.
Good. I did want to point out with the Bay Street that we do have $3.8 million of grant funding as a part of this project. So it's not all local dollars. And again, you can see on page, I think yours is 31, the different funding sources, how much is water sourced, storm, sewer, and then a big chunk is from our REIT funds, $4.4 million from REIT funds. So and where we're at, and we'll continue conversations on this project as it develops. Since Councilmember Morrissey mentioned for 413 and site improvements, I want to go to that because this is on this presentation a little bit unique, and that's okay because every project is a little unique. So if you see on page 34, actually, let me back up. On page 33, we have a total project cost of 8.3.
Which project are you discussing here? Because our page numbers are different than yours.
We're on 32.
32.
We're on 32. Well 11? You're
Dropping
talking about
that
well
one.
11?
We are on page 32, well 11. Thank you. You'll see at the top here, we expect this to be an roughly $4 million project. I'm sorry, I'm not on 32. I want to be on 31. Lordy. 31. We want to look at the uses and expenses of the project.
It's 32 for us. It's okay.
Okay, you guys are with me. Uses.
We were
uses
with
of
you.
funds. Okay.
We're with you.
You're the only
$8.4
one
million
confused.
project. And then if you flip it over to the sources, you'll find that the sources are higher at $9.3 million than the uses. And the reason being is we received a loan from the state. We then received our construction bids. The bids came in pretty favorable. So we're hoping overall the project costs will go down, and as they do, we won't draw as much on the loan proceeds as we have identified here. But it is a source of funding for us at this moment in time. Also, pieces of this project are not eligible for the state funding, so we had to bring in some water CFC dollars as well as water operating dollars. And so we maintain that relationship, and we've talked about this before, that when you look at the capital plans, we identify how much of a certain project is for growth and therefore is paid from CFCs, capital facility charges, or how much of this project is ratepayers' obligation. So this project in particular has a 75% operating, so ratepayer, to a 25% capital facility charge relationship. And you'll see that in the sources table, we got $562,000 coming from operating funds and $187,000 coming from our CFC dollars. So as we continue to fund this project, we continue to fund it from our CFCs and operating at those relationships of 75-25.
And the reason that is that wells 1, 2, and 3 are shallow aquifer wells that are out in McCormick. This well is a deep aquifer well that replaces those 3 wells. And so 75% of it is replacing those existing wells, 25% of it, it has a little more capacity than those current wells, and so that's why development is paying for that portion of the project.
So would there be a way, right, with the 8, let's just round it 8.6 there, that's a loan. Could we draw that fully out so that we could utilize our water operating for, because we're a little more restricted there, correct?
We are.
Yeah, some of the expenses are not eligible from.
Correct.
Okay.
So,
But we would maximize it. That's our policy internally, that we would maximize that first so that we could have the restrictive dollars used somewhere else automatically.
Correct. Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah, we know we were out in the road doing some road work, and so there's other things that just weren't eligible for the loan funding that we've got that are eligible from our local dollars.
Yeah, and I think to complete the connection of again, we're talking biennial budget here. So we're talking a little bit about the operating funding the capital project. We got some capital CFC dollars funding the capital project. We have some loan proceeds coming in. And then if you look in your budget for debt service payments, again, you'll see that same relationship of 75-25 going to make your debt service payments for this particular loan. So that kind of completes the picture, or that gives you a little more in depth of the overall budget impact and how it all weaves together. But again, as I said, as that project gets to completion, if we don't have to draw the full amount of loan, great, we'll only draw what was necessary and then close off the loan sometime next year. So this is really meant to be a handout to take home with you, to look it over, consider, unless there's anything in particular on the sewer or sewer funds that you want to look at.
The foster program, I'm going way back, but I just don't want to leave here without asking. The 700,000, is that when it goes through, that's the money that we're going to contribute to the mitigation? Because we're not doing the mitigation. We're going to contribute dollars.
Yeah. So as of right now, we have we put a plug number in the water. If you look at the water capital plan, there's identification of $1 million for foster. So we've been talking as staff, okay, what are we going to do with foster in the next biennium? It came up several times that the $1 million is for foster, so it's really a plug number to address foster issues. We've identified that we would purchase property with that $1 million, And that's as far as we've gone at this point in time.
And really, why, it's just a plug number at this, we're in negotiations right now with the tribes, okay? And we have ideas of what we want to do, but we have to get their approval and then Ecology's approval that these are the right solutions for that mitigation. We're looking for opportunities to do stream flow augmentation within our existing system if we can, and to buy land that is put into trust to preserve wetlands and things of that nature. So we have ideas of what we would like to do, and we want to put dollars in there, but we need to get approval from, from the tribes.
So is Ecology just a mediator in that discussion?
More than a mediator, they have to, at the end of the day, have to approve the plan.
Right.
But the negotiations are between us and the tribes. Yeah, we've got to work this out with the tribes. And that's been why this has been on our legislative priorities for a number of years. We would like Ecology to have a bigger role and to have more guidance and hard, fast rules that, so that we could check boxes and, okay, we got to do these things. It's very fluid, and there aren't a lot of rules.
That way everyone's, no matter what city or county you're in, you're all checking the same boxes.
Correct.
Not constant negotiations.
Yeah.
With tribes.
But
Because every situation would be unique.
And that's the problem.
That's the problem.
And the fostered litigation is what landed us here. The legislature put money into this pilot program that we're one of the communities, so we're farther along than there's three communities, I believe, in the pilot program. So it's been expensive to get these water rights, but it's the only path we have forward to get them.
I took us way off course, sorry, but go ahead.
Yeah.
No, I was just waiting. I'm sure the council may remember that while we were dealing with one tribe, or Aquiford, we found out went into a second tribe, the
Yes.
Squaxin tribe. So that further compounds the action that we'll need to take. So it's complex, and being this is just a wedge, I think maybe on the underside, but it's a good starting place. We'll see.
Question or comments?
No, go ahead, Councilor Chang.
No, thank you for the update. This is a lot of really detailed, good information. And I'm wondering if this is leading into the next presentation on revenue, but will the revenue presentation include details about like all the bonds and all the loans and all the grants that we have, what their terms are and when they're due?
No.
Is there a presentation?
There's debt service payments. We have given presentations on that in the past, in particular when we, issue bonds.
Well,
But-
going through
and
this,
loan.
it just raises questions. For example, like the bond funding for City Hall, what are the terms of that? And you don't have to get in now, but I'm wondering if there was a presentation saying, oh, that's a 15-year loan at 2%.
We approved that.
Yeah, do you remember what it was?
It was 5%, if I remember right.
5%?
Yeah, it was 5%.
20 years and.
20 years?
Yep,
5%?
yep.
So I could create a new presentation if you'd like to go over all debt obligations, terms and conditions. That is not part of the revenue sources presentation that's coming up next. And in fact, the revenue sources presentation you all have heard as we discussed last week at the work study session. So that was really just a repeat in preparation of the property tax hearing. But if there's some additional information you would like as we kind of work towards our end goal for budget, let me know and I can see what I can put together as we hit different play sessions.
So this is really intended to be a sample of, we would be here till 9 o'clock going through all of these projects. So, encourage you guys all to go through these documents and bring back your questions or reach out to Noah and I with your questions. We're happy to get you more information on specific projects. But I think it's pretty, every one of them's a little different, but the format's the same in each one of these. All
Yeah, so
right.
the intent, again, with closing with that presentation was to then say, we have covered the entire 25-26 budget, operating and capital, unless there's additional things specifically that you are interested in. They have to be budget related, as Councilmember Chang requested, something about debt maybe, and Councilmember Rose Pepe asked to bring some about reserve policies. So I have a couple notes on just, again, they'd be smaller presentations, but I wanted to get to the major stuff first. Again, this is a $50 million capital budget, so it's significant, worth the time to take and talk about.
Right. You are also then, it's the Noah Crocker Show here. So you are giving a presentation next. And actually, I don't know that you are giving a presentation. You're just rolling right into the public hearing that is next, I think.
Yeah, we provided the revenue presentation last week. We had discussion on it. So we include in the packet as a reminder, continually putting the materials out there for the council and the public. But unless there's something specific to cover, the revenue presentation, the revenue material is intended to walk us into the next public hearing segment. So Mayor, would you like us to move to the public hearing then?
Yeah, but my gavel's gone. It's in a box somewhere.
Fist it, just fist it.
It's actually, I know where it's at. It's in my office because we were doing Zoom meetings. But anyway, I opened the public hearing on the revenue sources.
Thank you, Mayor.
2025.
Public hearing on property tax levy and revenue sources for 2025, current expense budget for the 25-26 biennial budget, and to satisfy the requirements of RCW 84-55-120. The council is required to hold a public hearing on the current expense budget revenue sources for the coming biennial budget, including consideration for possible increases in property tax revenues per RCW 85-55-120. The hearing must be held before the council votes on property tax levy for the upcoming year. The deadline for setting the levy for property tax collection for 2025 is November 30th, 2024. Again, this hearing is a part of the public process that leads to the adoption of an ordinance setting the property tax levy, which will then be forwarded to the county assessor along with the levy certification in order to set the property tax levy for collection year 2025. With that, the staff would recommend opening and conducting the public hearing.
I guess I open the public hearing now. Here's my gavel. I'll get it up here. I see no members of the public in the chambers. Is there anyone online? Brandy is shaking her head no. So we will close the public hearing on the revenue sources.
He normally holds a presentation.
We're going to give the presentation first? I'm rusty. We haven't given had a public
Well, the
hearing in a while.
presentation really is the revenue sources presentation that would present before the public hearing. And so we discussed, I could go back.
He gave that presentation at the work study.
And that was open for public comment?
Ye-
Because that's the point of tonight's public
Well,
hearing
the
is to
public-
allow.
We opened the public hearing
Okay.
right now. That's what we just did.
We did.
And he gave a presentation on those revenue
Again,
sources.
But it's up to you if you want to forego it.
You just do some quick highlights of what we just talked about and
Sure. Let me just slide back.
start all over.
All right, I'm gonna start over.
Just start over.
So, actually, maybe I'll share my screen then, if we're gonna do highlights.
Page 43 is the best
I
one.
think the clerk's question was, when we presented this last week, did we open it for public comment? And-
We did not. That was
No,
just a
that's what I'm saying.
presentation.
So the question, I think, was, do we have to do the presentation and then ask for public comment? I believe that was your question, correct?
Yeah,
Yeah,
that makes sense.
so, yeah, so if we go through this quickly, we'll be there.
Okay, so we'll step back.
Yep.
So for our 25-26 biennial budget, we anticipate total tax revenue of $30,675,000. Of that, $8.2 million is from property taxes, with 14,965 representing the largest source of the tax revenue being sales tax. On this slide, we identify how much is allocated by fiscal year and the overall percentage of the tax by each source. Sales tax is the largest, representing nearly 49% of our biennial budget total, followed by property tax at 27%, and finally other taxes rounding off roughly 24%. When we look at the other taxing sources, again, we highlight the top three, which are the electric tax, public transportation tax, and utility taxes. I believe this question came up last week at work study, but of the utility taxes, that represents water, sewer, and storm utility taxes going into our general fund from our water enterprise funds. When we look at the top three categories of other revenue sources, intergovernmental revenue is a significant portion at $1.1 million, and that is primarily made up of Fed and state grant money, as well as some small amounts of motor vehicle fuel tax dollars. Charges for goods and services is estimated at roughly $936,000, and these are planning fees and court fees, followed by licenses and permits, which are driven by primarily business licenses and building permits. Moving on to the next slide, we have a comparison of the 2023-24 budget compared to the 2025-26. You'll notice tax revenue is budgeted to increase overall 5.46%. Sales tax is roughly 4.6%. Property tax is going to show a growth of 15%. Again, that is not an increase in property tax levy of 15%. And total tax revenue is estimated to grow by 12%. Overall, taxes are still growing strong. Again, overall taxes 12%, but overall funding 5.46%. Now the next table shows our property tax history and the proposed 25 tax levy. As a reminder, property tax represents 25% of our overall budget, so it's very important to our 001 and 002 funds. For 2025, we are proposing a property tax levy of $4,079,000. Again, the city will establish the levy amount, and the county will then calculate the levy rate required to raise that amount of revenue. The city will be certifying by November 30th the total levy amount, which is $4,079,000. Again, next slide, we just like to show the growth in property tax revenue over time, just a visual display versus a table display. But this is, I think, the high-level summary that Clerk Wallace was looking for. Again, you see 2024 total taxes of $3.7 million, but we actually levied $3,694,000. When you factor into the maximum amount we can increase the levy, that's an additional $32,000 spread amongst our entire city. And then the increase in growth really is due to new construction, where you see we have $272,000 more coming on the tax roll due to new construction coming on. That brings us to total taxes anticipated of $4,089,000. Again, we always budget utilities in anticipation if the state makes any adjustments to their utility structure. I'm going to move on a couple of slides and come right here. Sales tax collection, again, has been strong this year. We've collected 83% of our budgeted sales tax revenue to date at roughly $6,044,000.
Director Crocker, what's the projected number at the end of the year for that? Have we projected the last quarter for sales tax?
What are we going to project?
Yeah, outside of, I know where we budgeted, right? So we budget, but I'm sure you run a projection as well, or no? No?
We get the monthly report that we get, you know, when we get it, we show those numbers and recognize different numbers. We don't typically change, we maybe at the mid-year review, we could make an adjustment to the overall budget and a projection, but it's rare that we've done that, if ever.
Yeah, I think that's a fair question. And again, I think the times that we've found it to be appropriate is during a mid-year review when you're really trying to see how much additional revenue you can have coming in to spend. As we get to the end of the biennium, we're really focused on making sure that we're coming in under budget or at least at budget so we have enough expenditure authority, and all those dollars are then reprogrammed then for our 25-26. So we don't typically do a fresh projection to close out the year. We expect that we'll meet our budget. And so that if there is a shortage in the last 3 months, or if there's a decline, that's kind of the target we're looking at.
Mayor? So, no, I mean, would it be fair to say right now, as of, maybe this answer your question, that we're at 6 million right now through September. If we look at the last 3 months of the year, kind of over time, probably between 1.5 and $2 million collection. So we may end up about $1 million above budget. I think
Yes, that's kind of where I'm trying to go with that, to understand where we're at, so that if we know in 2024, this is most likely where our end number's going to be, did we budget accordingly? Just trying to verify your numbers that you have already budgeted for next year, so that we can understand how you came up with those.
Yeah, and when we developed this budget, where we've overperformed that total, we've programmed that into this budget. That isn't still hanging out there as cash that's not unbudgeted. There could be some cash in this last quarter, and that will be part of the dollars that we will have potentially utilize if we hopefully do overperform in that mid-year review process next year. And we'll probably get one more month, possibly get one more month in, as before we finish this budget, which could help us with some of these minor tweaks that we want to make. Does that answer your question?
I didn't have the question, but I also just want to say we've always been very conservative in our budgeting. Better to collect more than, be over than under.
It's easier to spend more money later than it is to cut.
Right.
Yep.
We could take, going back to the levy that you mentioned. I know last week we had a little bit of chatter about really what it came down to per home. How many homes are there in the city?
Yeah. Nick, do you have a number? How many houses we have? Oh, no.
The doors or houses?
I can probably find it for you real quick. I think it's around 6,000 or 7,000.
Not that huge of a deal. I just want to say, figure out, when I get asked about how much it is per home, is it $4 a house? That's all I wanted to.
32,000, yeah.
And I should say it's around 7,000 housing units, not necessarily single-family homes.
Right.
And how many ratepayers?
Well, and it's a very difficult question to answer, because we did this exact exercise almost 2 years ago, I think. I kind of sat through and did a presentation of trying to answer that question, how much, because I don't have the numbers in front of me.
So here's the challenge to that is that Noah might live in a $2 million home and John lives in a $500,000 home. So the proportional share is different. Conversationally, it's $3 or $4 or whatever it is, but it's split based on valuation, and so the person that has the higher priced home pays more.
Same as schools and fire.
Yeah, exactly.
Levy.
But you could use the medium house price.
You could use
within our area.
Yeah, you could use the median. That'd be a fairer way.
Come up with a good guess. So
Like 650 divided by 30,000.
Because that would be my question too, how much extra, is the levy gonna be?
I'm going to say 3 to 4.
It was in the slide, it's $32,000, is that what it is?
3,150.
Yeah,
3 or 4.
Divided by how many doors?
All right. Sorry about that one.
roughly.
And I do have another question on that. What exactly does that levy property tax go for? Exact amount of money?
Those
Yeah,
are
yeah,
our
that's a good
general
question.
fund.
So if you recall from our discussion last week when I talked about specifically how much of the general fund is funded from our revenue sources, again, 76% of our revenue, am I getting this wrong? 76% of the revenue is earmarked for salaries and benefits alone in our general fund. So you could say that money goes to pay for our police force, 100%. And the police force as well as DCD and parks are the biggest components of our general fund. And not police, but the chief's here tonight. So, yeah, he is the biggest part of our general fund budget. We're happy to have him here tonight, so that's great.
In uniform, in uniform.
So I'm gonna slide back up. I heard another question in the discussion, which is great. I mean, this is what you want to do with the budget. So again, as a reminder for the 25-26, historically, we took a 3-year average when we looked at the sales tax projection. This year, when we talked with the finance committee, we looked at the 3-year. They thought it was a little too conservative. Oh, excuse me, 5-year. We normally look at the 5-year, okay, a longer period of time. And they thought that was too conservative, so we moved it to a 4-year average with a 5% increase in 2026. Just want to, again, because I heard, I think Councilmember Morrissey asked that question, or maybe between him and Rosa Pepe. They were asking about the budget of sales tax dollars, and that's the value we derive to use.
And that was a decision made out of the finance committee, right? So we had several choices put in front of us, and we went middle of the road.
And so what we typically will do is, second quarter of 2025, we'll revisit sales tax, we'll revisit the projections, and as well as whatever comes out of a council retreat, spending plans. If there's additional requests for funding, then we look to mid-year and generally would adjust sales tax if it's on track or better than performing.
Questions? That, now I have my gavel, I will close the public hearing. All right, we are done with the public hearing. We are to our business items. There's 4 of them this evening. The first of which is an adoption of an ordinance setting the amount of property tax to be levied for the year 2025 pursuant to RCW 8455-120. Mr. Crocker, do you have anything else to say? I think it was just the presentation you just gave.
Yes, no, I have nothing further to add since we had a very robust discussion on it. Again, the ordinance before you tonight is to set the property tax levy for 2025, increasing it by $32,115, which is a 0.86928% increase from the prior year. And the city of Port Orchard will actually set the property tax amount to be estimated at roughly $4,089,000. With that, staff would recommend, and Finance Committee has also recommended approval of this ordinance.
And Councilmember Morrissey just pointed out to me that the motion in our packet does not have an ordinance number to it. What
You
should
can
that
just say I move to adopt a ordinance or an ordinance.
An ordinance and, okay. Councilmember Morrissey, would you like to make a motion?
Yeah, Mr. Mayor, I move to adopt an ordinance setting the 2025 property tax levy and the amount of property taxes to be raised for the budget year of 2025.
Motion by Councilmember Morrissey, a second by Councilmember Warden. Is there further discussions about the revenue sources? We're not talking about the expenses yet. This is the ordinance related to revenue sources. Okay. Councilmember Chang?
Yeah, just to repeat what we just spoke about like 5 minutes ago, do we know how the 32,115 is approximately broken up into how many different ratepayers? And ratepayers is the wrong word, but how many property owners do we have in the city?
Every property owner in the city.
I know.
It gets their proportional share based on the value of their property.
That's not my question. My question is, do we know how many property owners there are in the city?
Nick said roughly 6,000.
6 or 7,000?
I mean, but vacant properties pay property tax
Yeah.
as well, so
Yeah.
I have.
True.
yeah.
Yeah, so it's not really housing unit, it's property,
Every
parcels of property.
every parcel of land on their
Do
proportional.
we know how many parcels of property there are in the city of Port Orchard?
It changes regularly, so it's
Like daily.
hard to pin down.
A developer comes in and records a plat, and now.
We don't know, but we think it's between 6,000 or 7,000.
That's
No,
households.
it's significantly more than that for number of parcels, because there's vacant parcels all over the city.
8,000.
20,000?
Part is he
I don't
doesn't know.
We don't know.
How can we not know, though? I mean, can't the county tell us, like, how many property parcels there are in the
I
city?
think what I'm hearing is we can find out, but we don't know
Okay.
right now.
Yeah, we can pull that out of GIS based on the most recent parcel information, but it's constantly changing. And there may be one owner that owns 40 properties in the city, so are you asking for individual tax accounts versus taxpayers, which are two different things as well?
No, the number that I'm just trying to mentally get behind is like, okay, so 32,000 is being divided by 8,000 entities, which means that each.
It's way more than that, because there's way more parcels than that.
Out of McCormick, sorry, City Attorney, out of McCormick, there's how many plats that are out there? I mean, it's.
And Old McCormick was just about 1,000.
Fred, are you trying to get to, it's $4 per parcel?
Exactly.
Or
Yeah,
$3?
just
And at this point,
approximate.
we're splitting pennies, right? I mean,
Well,
it's not that big a difference
think
when you
it's
take
pennies.
32,000
Or is it-
divided by,
Okay, so it's like $4 extra.
Yep.
Per.
Yeah, max 4.
And that's for a whole year, $4
Yeah.
extra for a year to keep.
Well, I'm not going to commit to
Ground.
the $4 figure.
It is a small
It
number.
is a
divide- on
2025
an annual
property tax levy,
basis.
yes.
In February, I'll bring my tax notice in and I'll let you know.
We can work through the math then and see the assessed
Yeah,
value
but
change.
You
and
you
the
can't
shifting.
really, it'll be even difficult.
No, I know,
because
I'm just joking.
The fire and the library live in our $1.60 as we talked. We have an extremely complex tax system for property taxes.
Yes, I
It's at
agree.
the state level.
thank you, Steve.
Yeah.
Don't blame.
No,
the
it's not us, you're right. We live under this umbrella that the state has provided us. So, any questions? Further discussion? You're about to vote on an ordinance setting the amount of property tax to be levied in 2025. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Is there anyone opposed? Hearing none, the motion passes unanimously. All right, we're to item B, which is approval of a lease with South Kitsap Soccer Club, SK United, youth nonprofit soccer club for use of a portion of Van Zee Park. Ms. Wallace, this is you. That's what it says.
All right.
We could-
Good
we
evening,
could- We
Mayor,
could pawn
Council.
it off on the attorney. I'm sure she knows a lot about this.
I'll take one for the team and go ahead and present this on behalf of the clerk and the city attorney's office. So before you tonight is a lease from the South Kitsap Soccer Club, which is SK United, which is a youth nonprofit soccer club, is requesting temporary use of a portion of Van Zee Park to practice for their practices. This is the first time this organization has utilized the park for routine practices. The proposal is the use of the fields and the lights starting November 1st, 2024 and end March 15th, 2025 from 5 p.m. to 7 p.m. every Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday. The lights are on a automatic system and will be set by Public Works. The lights will be turned on and off about 30 minutes before the start of the use of the field and 30 minutes after the expected end time of the use of the field. In 2023, the city leased the field for a rate of $75. Staff was able to pull the usage from 2023 and determine that the base rate of the usage from this organization is approximately $100, should be enough to cover both electricity utilities and/or staff admin costs for the administration of this lease. With that, staff recommends approval of the lease in the amount of $100.
Councilmember Diener?
Mayor, I move to authorize the mayor to execute a lease with South Kitsap Soccer Club, SK United, a youth nonprofit soccer club for temporary use of the Van Zee Park, including the lights as presented.
Second.
Motion by Councilmember Diener, second by Councilmember Rosa Pepe. Any questions on the lease?
I've got just a quick question. Have we done an assessment of the conditions of the field? Because I've been out there not too long ago, and there are some potential, well, there are some divots that could be concerning for somebody playing soccer. I'm just wondering if we should go do an assessment of the field to make sure that there aren't any ankle breakers out there.
I'm looking at the Public Works Director.
Absolutely. So I wasn't aware of this lease. We just had 2 employees complete the certified playground safety and field inspection, so we will get that on the schedule.
Okay, and then my next question is, the goals that are out there right now, are they planning on using those? Because they don't seem very movable at this point and probably should be scrapped.
I'm not sure if they're ours or a prior user put those there. but-
Okay.
I'm unsure.
Might want to check on the conditions of those. I think maybe the wheels or a wheel might be missing from one of them or something, I don't know, but they've been sitting there unused for a long time.
This is something we can discuss with the council when they're back about how it pertains to the agreement.
So once you have your team assess it and report back in your staff report, maybe next council meeting.
And if nobody claims ownership, let's get rid of those things. Thank you, that's all I have.
Councilmember Morrissey?
Yeah, I just have, is this routine? I mean, I know this is new for this group.
It happens from time to time. The Boy Scouts will use it for a summer camp. We've had other groups. We just try to recover our costs, in particular when it comes to the lights. The Boy Scouts, I don't think we really even charge them to use it because they use it during the day. I think it's the Boy Scouts, isn't it? That summer camp?
And we also had a South Kitsap flag football team use it. They usually use it around this time of the year, but their corporate office actually canceled the program this year, so they're not able to use it. So it opened up the opportunity for this organization to use it. There may be some wrestling of the arms next year to see who's actually going to be able to use the field, but we'll talk about that when the time comes. But right now, we just have one organization wanting it, and typically just one a year for a few months.
Yeah, no, I love it. I want to see it used, so I was going to help promote. I might even cover the cost, but if I don't want to set a precedent that I can't handle in the future, so I just was curious, so thank you.
I could see a lot more programs coming to the cities and counties now to lease fields. The school district is now charging to rent their fields. And so they've never charged before. And starting now, they're charging like $10 an hour for an elementary school. And that is a huge increase when you practice every day, as a soccer club does and whatnot. So I could see us starting to get approached more by other programs out there. So
This is really our, other than the Little League field, this is really our. All right, if it's getting a lot more use, we might have to make some improvements to it. But,
I agree.
all right, have we kicked this around enough? All right, you'll be voting on to approve a lease with South Kitsap Soccer Club, SK United Youth Nonprofit Soccer Club for use of a portion of Van Zee Park. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Is there anyone opposed? Hearing none, the lease has been approved. We're to item C, approval of an interlocal cooperative agreement for housing incarcerated individuals with the Kitsap County Sheriff's Office. Chief Brown, this is you.
Kitsap County Sheriff's Office operates a facility to house adult persons arrested and sentenced for criminal activities. The City of Port Orchard does not operate such a facility and for many years contracted with the Sheriff's Office to house those arrested by the Police Department. Previous contract was signed in 2017 with annual amendments through 2024. The proposed contract will allow for continuity of criminal justice operations and the provision of public safety. Staff recommends the City Council approve the mayor to sign the interlocal cooperative agreement for housing incarcerated individuals.
Councilmember Diener.
Mr. Mayor, I move to authorize the mayor to sign the interlocal cooperative agreement for housing incarcerated individuals.
Second.
Motion by Councilmember Diener, second by Councilmember Rosapepe. This contract is a significant increase from the prior contract, I think more than 20%. And 22, okay, 28, okay. And it is largely due to medical costs. The contract that the county received for that went up significantly, so.
And also to speak to that, the county did not raise bed rates at all during the previous contract. So while it is a significant jump from the last contract to this one, that should also be taken into account, is that they did not raise rates over the last 4 years.
Councilmember Rosa Pepe.
I know this is not our police force, and I know it's not our city council or mayor, but there was a city recently that came under fire for not incarcerating folks so they wouldn't have to pay the bill. And I hope that if people deserve incarceration, that we would make sure that it happens.
I have not been advised to not make arrests as appropriate. We are a service, as the finance director will point out, we are not a money generating department.
No, what I'm saying is that they didn't incarcerate folks to save money for the city. That was not a good look for them.
Agreed.
Battleground?
No.
I will say our judge does an exceptional job. You know, sometimes those individuals that are incarcerated are in there on charges for us, and they probably maybe had a warrant out there for a much bigger crime for the county or another jurisdiction, and he takes that into consideration sometimes, and they don't go free, but sometimes that we end up sharing that cost or letting that other jurisdiction if their crime is something more significant than what they got arrested for us. So.
And if I could add one more as well, we still maintain a contract with the city of Forks. So this contract with the county is primarily pre-adjudication. Post-adjudication, I believe if they're sentenced to less than or more than 10 days, they will go to Forks, which is cheaper.
Further question, Councilmember Trenary, go ahead.
So how often are we invoiced?
Monthly.
It's based on the previous month?
Yes.
So are there any expectations tied to this 28.5% increase? I know we haven't seen an increase from them over the past 4 years, it sounds like, but what if we get to a number that exceeds this? Is somebody tracking this actually?
Well, so this is a contract for the bed days. We have our budget number. We try to anticipate how many people we're going to incarcerate next year. And so that's part of the expense side of the budget. And we've done a pretty good job at that historically. It's been a long time since we've had to do a budget amendment for jail expenses. And if we're arresting more people and there's more crime in our city, we want to arrest them. You know, it's something we could be talking about at mid-year that, you know, the jail bill went up considerably because we incarcerated more people. I think, you know, those will be conversations we would have.
Yeah, and the municipal court and I work together. They review that bill before I approve it. And I review the budget at least weekly to see where we're at in all of our BARS codes. So, and then the finance director and I work directly on these issues.
Right. You'll be voting on the approval of an interlocal cooperative agreement for housing and incarcerated individuals with Kitsap County Sheriff's Office. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Is there anyone opposed? Hearing none, the contract or agreement has been approved. We're to our last business item, approval of the October 8th special city council meeting. Is there a motion to approve? Councilmember.
Mayor, move to approve the minutes as presented.
Seconded.
Motion by Councilmember Rosa Pepe, a second by Councilmember Terneri. There are going to be 2 abstentions, I believe. Councilmember Warden and Diener, you were absent. So I think when
It says it here.
It was the pump station tour.
It was the tour. It was the tour.
Okay, that was the special meeting. Okay. Any comments? Corrections? No? All right. You'll be voting on the approval of the October 8th special meeting.
There's a correction.
Okay, go ahead.
It says the mayor was present.
I was not present.
Was not present.
correct that.
We'll make sure that that scrivener error is corrected before it is signed and published.
Thank you.
All right, with that correction, you'll be voting on the October 8th special council meeting minutes. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed? And extensions? I've got Diener and Warden.
Yes.
Okay, 2 abstentions. All right, it's time to get your budget books back out. We've got a discussion item next. And Pat, you were given a heck of a lot of information last week. We asked you to go back and look at it and potentially give us some direction if there's something that is on the mid-year list, review list, or out in left field that you would like us to consider. And Noah and I likely come back to you at the next council meeting after you guys kind of give us a prioritization of a thing or two possibly that you would like to see us to attempt to fund that didn't get funded in the mayor's budget. So do we want to kind of go around the room, or do you want to start one end or the other? Councilmember Warden, you want to start?
Well, and Mayor, before we get started, I don't know if this would be the right time, because there was 2 takeaways from our last discussion, okay? I did also want to point out, so we've taken the next step, we've adopted property tax. Tomorrow I'll certify and get those documents after signed up to the county. So that part will be taken care of. The next meeting, talk budget will be November 12th. So again, as the mayor said, we talked a lot about operating last week, talked a lot of capital today. We kind of ran out of time at the end of the night for discussion. So this is an opportunity to discuss. We want you to feel fully comfortable with the budget. And the other piece that we took away was
Councilmember Warden about the...
Councilmember Warden, yes, you had requested what had come out of the retreat and to follow up. And so the mayor, maybe that's where to start. So you can address what came out of retreat and how we built that into the budget.
Do we want to walk
That's what
through
council
this
had already
document?
requested.
So this is the document that came from the retreat. And in the color that I added to this, I did this after Councilmember Warden asked the question, what happened with those, and did they get incorporated into the budget? And some of them we did in the mid-year review. Some of them rolled into this budget, and there's some red items that still haven't been completed yet. But we did the parliamentary training. We did get you through the mid-year review to that 6 summer hires this last summer. The mayor's budget currently has 6 summer hires in it again. There could be some discussion to make some modification to that. I've heard some conversations. We hired the asset management specialist, and that was completed in the mid-year, funded from the mid-year review, and that position is currently in this budget. We promoted that office assistant and modified that person's duties, and that was funded in the mid-year review and is in this budget, current budget. We changed the stormwater FTE to an entry-level engineer position, and that happened in the mid-year review and is carried forward into this budget. We funded at the mid-year review the traffic impact fee study, and that body of work is underway and should be completed in the first quarter of 2025. Let's see here, to look at. These are items that the attorney looked at. One was drafting an ordinance, updating a number of processes. We had like council sponsors and the adjournment in the meeting. We did some code cleanup there, and that was completed. We talked about code of conduct standards and council rules, and that was the item that you tabled. You discussed that earlier. There was really no action, so I considered it tabled. And then you discussed it again tonight, and so that has been continued to a date certain, first quarter of next year. We modified our public comment period. That's happened. And this last one, Charlie presented information on this last one about public participation during council and adding rules, and she gave you some documents, and no one is given any direction on.
Mr. Mayor?
Yes.
Maybe we can attach that to the Q1 discussion.
Yeah, could be. We held a work study session regarding the guiding principles, and that work was completed. The attorney drafted you a white paper on vacant buildings, and that discussion was conducted here a couple weeks ago.
Mr. Mayor, again, with this, I don't know that we really worked through the issue to its completion.
The direction, at least from the work study, was a white paper. So I consider at least, the body of work may not be done, but the direction from the retreat was to the attorney provide you a white paper.
I'd like to be able to follow up on that.
Yeah, absolutely. The 1406, we've got one partner on that. Those dollars, as we discussed, are budgeted in this budget, and we're looking to have an interlocal agreement with a nonprofit to deploy those dollars in the first quarter. There's a county, the creation of a road cleanup program, and we're going to work in partnership with the county. The ILA is completed. We just need to get it before you guys to approve that ILA, and we're going to piggyback on the county's program, Kitsap County's program, and discuss the plans and vision for the public library property. We haven't completed that, and I know that Kitsap Transit still desires to acquire that property from us, and they gave a presentation previously that wasn't well received, and from that, they're working on different concepts for an additional conversation related to that. So that was, this was your retreat document, and like I say, I put statuses to those, and there's a few of them that still need to be completed.
Mr. Mayor, I seem to remember that there was council discussion about a 1/2 full-time employee for communications.
And that is in the...
That's not included here?
For whatever reason, it didn't end up on this, because this is the document that came from the retreat that was presented to you months ago. So I'm not sure why, but I did capture that, and that is in the budget, but not funded. And it's $309,000.
That's not a half anymore, though. That's a whole, right?
That's a whole. That is correct. In a biennium, yeah. So 150,000-ish a year with best salaries and benefits. Okay.
Move forward.
Yeah. So no.
Yeah, no. So I just wanted to follow up since
you asked that
Councilmember Warren
question.
asked. We want to
Thank
make sure
you.
we follow up. So let's get back to budget discussion. Sorry.
Okay.
Yeah, I'll lead it off. One of the key items that I think that we all, I don't want to say we all, it seemed like the majority of us all wanted was to add a full-time parks facilities employee. And I think we've had some talks over the last few days of ways that we can make that possible.
I think that is possible. We, ideas that Noah and I, there's a number of tweaks we need to make. One could be defunding one or more of the 6 seasonal hires, taking it down to 5 or 4. We're also in conversations with the court too. They have an unfilled position, and they're since COVID, it's changed. When Councilmember Morrissey gets that ticket, he doesn't have to come into the court anymore. He can do that in Zoom. So it's changed the workload in there. If we, the judge runs a very efficient operation over there, and if we squeeze his operation over there in this budget process, I think there just needs to be some acknowledgement when activity picks back up. We're going to find the resources to make sure that he's got the people, all the people he needs to run the court appropriately. But there could be an opportunity. We need to have more conversation with the court administrator and the judge about that. But I think that between that, a couple of small pieces of equipment that Public Works has on their list that they could potentially wait on. I think we can find a way to at least fund this position, or if that's not the consensus, something similar in scale. The challenge is if we cut the seasonal workers and cobble other dollars and fund a police officer, which we need more police officers, then our parks take a step back. By funding a full-time parks position and taking some seasonal workers away, there's some parity in that. So, Councilmember Dino.
I just was going to talk about process. Do you want to poll council members?
I'd kind of like to, I'd like to, an idea, what are your top, or, one or two priorities? I don't think we're going to, from a dollars and cents standpoint, I don't think we're going to get beyond that in tweaks we could make to this. So I've heard from Councilmember Warden, he'd like to see this, this Public Works maintenance tech for parks and facilities funded.
Question?
Yes.
Just on this, we talked about seasonal workers, and there was a little bit of background discussion about bang for the buck for the seasonal workers.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm like, so what's really the appropriate number of seasonal workers? I mean, we bumped it up to 6. I'm hearing that, we could go as low as 4. And I'm looking at Dennis, I'm sorry, but, my bottom line is, Mayor too, is how many do we really need? And is it better to reinvest that money in a permanent employee, which Eric is talking about? Because I'm fine with cutting seasonal if we're not getting a bang for the buck.
Well, there is value in having somebody year-round to do, because there's more than just mowing grass.
I know.
And with the reorganization that we did here, the beginning of the year? It was first quarter. Remember, we created divisions, okay? Historically, parks had one body and then the summer hires, okay? Now, parks has 2 bodies currently, but they also have the responsibility of the facilities, okay? So when the faucet breaks back here, I can't lean on a sewer water person that's funded out of the sewer water utility to fix that. That's a bad example. It was a faucet, but I don't know. The clock needs to get fixed, okay, or whatever. I need, and I shouldn't be taking somebody that's out filling potholes to do that. So we didn't have a better fit for it anywhere else. So they've got a few more responsibilities, but I think overall they were better off this year than we've been in the past. To have another body full-time year-round, because those seasonals are just here in a window of time, spring and summer. And there is, what we heard is they want at least 4. I don't think they want any more than 6, and I think they'd appreciate 5, so if we could get there. Is that
That's
consistent
accurate.
with what you heard? That's what I heard.
That's what I heard. And it's always important to remember, too, that we are growing in our parks. Thanks to Director Vaughn's work with the development community, we'll be taking on some new parks here in the near future with McCormick. So we are expanding as far as what we will be taking care of.
No, we better not be, yeah.
No, we're not.
Not yet. But we are moving in that direction where we will have parks that are dedicated to the city.
In McCormick?
They're part of the development agreement that they're built. There's a pickleball court over by that's on the backside of our regional park that is going to be built and dedicated to it. That'll be ours when it's built.
Yeah, there's 3 parks. 2 of them are trail facilities that are being dedicated along the right-of-way. So they've built multimodal pathways. There's a loop through McCormick West, and then it goes up McCormick Village Drive to the Sinclair Ridge development along the backside of McCormick Park. They are building two other entrances to McCormick Village Park, and so we're getting an entrance at the northwest corner of the park that will have pickleball courts, as the mayor describes. We're also getting an entrance to the park from the commercial village. There will be stairs and a ramp down to the existing trail network where the on-street parking is located, and so that will allow people to park over by the commercial area and access the park and kind of create a synergy between the commercial. People can grab coffee, take their kids to the park, all in one trip.
So the only real park is the pickleball park. But there's a trail and then some stairs. Go ahead.
Does that come before the council, a vote?
It already did. Yeah.
Years ago?
Years ago, yeah.
Yeah, so we did a McCormick Village master plan in 2010. That was before I was here. And so the phasing for that park was laid out all the way back in 2010, and it's in our comprehensive plan now. We then entered into a development agreement in 2022, and McCormick Communities agreed to build those facilities in exchange for park impact fee credits for their new development. And so they received park impact fee credits, but had to build and dedicate those improvements to the city.
Yeah, however, what we didn't do was they wanted to give us some additional parks, and we did not take those.
There was others
So
on the
these are new development parks, and there's additional parks. Nick, correct me if I'm wrong. There's also some additional parks in the new McCormick areas that are built and maintained
By the HOA.
by the developer. So yes, the one we're talking about now kind of run in with our existing park up there. So yeah, that was fine. It made it sound like we were taking on parks, and we're not doing that.
The facility we're adding is I can't remember if it's 2 or 3 pickleball courts on the back edge of our existing park. All right. Back to your guys' priorities.
We got to Eric.
Got to Eric. Anybody else want to go down the line, or somebody want to offer?
Go down the line.
Yeah, well, now, is the, fixing the roads and the potholes, I feel like our roads are neglected. Who is the roads and the public works, that's not in the general, it's in the general fund? Okay, so since we are saying yes to this, the property levy, I mean, if you just go down and it's, before Whiskey Gulch, kind of where the barber shop is on the water side, there's 2 potholes pretty close together. And so how do you go around and make sure the roads are,
So we fill potholes.
drivable?
We fill potholes as soon as we become aware of them. We rely on public requests that we receive. We strive to address potholes as we learn about them within 24 hours. But as we talked about last budget meeting, we have over 70 miles of centerline roadway, so it's a lot to cover. So we don't always see everything. We address as we can, and there's some liability there, so it is really important that we take that approach.
The mayor's budget that was brought forward has $950,000 for street preservation and maintenance.
Okay.
It's not really that question, but, so we're trying to hone in on budget priorities here.
Okay
Right,
with the
but that's-
budget the way it is.
Well, yeah, but I mean, that's a priority, the roads, so I want to make
It's
sure
still
that
the
is boom.
There's $950,000 in the proposed budget for street preservation and maintenance.
Important to, I think, recall, and I don't know if many people were here then, I don't know if you were, Jay. but
I was,
Fred
yeah.
We did a pavement analysis, and that gave us a B rating. And we decided that a certain amount of money was needed every year to maintain that B rating, and that's what we've strived to meet every year.
We're like at 200,000. It was a low number we had before.
Yeah,
Yeah,
right,
we were,
right.
yeah, prior to getting that, and actually prior administrations to this, historically, we put about $200,000 into the budget, and we've been consistently putting near $1 million.
And the B rating wasn't just something they pulled out of the air, that was an objective classification that they use in the industry.
We had I refer to it as the magic bus, drove around, and it had radar and this tennis ball it bounced that took readings on. So
Density and,
upgrade. So anyway, we're getting in the weeds.
Well, yeah, and I was just going to point out, so we have 950 already allocated here in the mid-year, and we keep calling it mid-year review. Yeah. Just throws-
The more appropriate.
Mid-budget review.
Mid-biennial review.
Or, yeah.
Would be more appropriate.
We're also looking at potentially, there's another 800,000 on that review that we would add to that if we had a good chunk of money. I know that Councilmember Trenary, in the very short time that we had at the end of the last meeting, said that that was a priority of his, and I would like to support that as well. I think we did a good job with that number, but anything that we can look at when we review, I would be in support of.
At mid-year review, but not at this moment in time.
Correct.
Was he speaking for me? 'Cause
He's channeling you.
he did.
No, I was just trying to address what she was saying and where I fall on that, so I don't have to talk about it
So
again.
let's, yeah, that's great, and that is on the mid-year review item, but, you know, focusing back in this first half of the biennium, thoughts on priorities, and I heard a parks person, if we can afford.
I'd like to support that as well. I think I'm with the, when we heard the terms last week, summer help, summer not. I'm looking to maybe fund that with the summer not, and so that would be my priority.
And I'll just second what he has to say there. I agree with
Jay?
Okay,
We skipped someone.
Oh, no, we're bouncing around now.
Oh, we are?
okay, well,
Yeah, you want, Mark, you want yours?
please.
No, not now.
I thought we were gonna go down.
You know, everybody here it's already been commented on that I'm heavy on streets and paving and maintenance. You know, the last 2 years, we've had over $1 million in our budget for this. We cut it back this year. I'm not happy about that. I don't think our citizens are happy about that, or will be happy about that. We've added $22 million of projects just into this budget alone that have to do with asphalt and streets, yet we're cutting back our budget on maintenance and repair when our costs for not only materials but labor have escalated over the last couple of years. I am in support of this new Parks Department position, full-time Parks Department position, but I strongly beg you guys to, if there's money to be found anywhere in the pot, let's add it back to our streets. We have aging streets in some of the older sections of our town that are in horrible. We're adding miles and miles of pavement that's also gonna require maintenance and updates down the road. We can't afford to go backwards in providing safe and smooth roadways for our citizens.
Well stated.
So, if I heard you correctly, you're adding your support to the parks position.
Full-time parks
But
position.
if there's other table scraps, for a better term.
I'll take anything we can get.
We put it into parks, or excuse me, into paving the streets, to pump that 950 back up a bit more, is what you're saying.
Up to
Mr. Mayor?
Well, it's what, you know, as we.
$1 million doesn't get us what.
Well, it's higher than 950.
Yeah, I know, but I'm just saying it.
I mean, what's the number that you're looking for?
What was it,
higher.
$1.7 million is what you were looking for? I mean, for 2 years.
I can assure you, there's not another $100,000 or $200,000 to be had in this budget beyond a parks position. I don't believe. But Noah and I will scrub this and come back with you next week. And I'm hearing pretty broad consensus for the parks position. And if there's anything left beyond that, I'm hearing Mark to say, let's put it into our streets. I see Scott nodding his head to support that idea.
Yeah, that's my idea.
Councilmember Morrissey.
Me too.
Councilmember Fenton.
I don't, you know, I want to hear from Jay and Fred and John here too, but.
John, you go first.
Well, mine was more of a question around ER&R. Have we done a study? Is there some documentation that I can be directed towards? You know, that's $1.3 million in this future budget, and I'm just curious on how we utilize our vehicles and things like that. you know, I don't ever like to pick on and it's not picking on our police department, but there were 8 unused vehicles sitting out front right now, and have we looked at making sure that we're as efficient as possible when it comes to that line item? I don't think that changes anything for this budget, but maybe future considerations. So again, and it's not just the police. I'm sure if Public Works parked out front, and we'd see some of those sometimes not used as well. They're not all going to be used at all times, but I'm curious.
Yeah, and so I can comment on that. So one thing that we are doing in the R&R, and we've recently brought this to council, is we brought our fleet software. So we actually have the dongles in the vehicle, and we Fleetio, so we can actually manage the vehicles better for maintenance, flags, all those kind of things. But where we like to go with the ERR is more on a sharing car type program. We're not there yet because we don't have the data. I think I'll have all my departments tell me they all need the cars right now. So until I can demonstrate data and time and how a sharing program would work, so that, you know, when DCD's cars aren't needed there, then Public Works can use them, or vice versa. I think that's the direction we want to go, a true motor pool program, but we're not there yet.
Am I hearing, though, that's on the horizon?
It's where we'd like to get to.
Yeah.
Yeah, we're working that direction again, slow and steady.
Okay. Yeah, even if it's just something where you want dollars for a study or something in the next biennium, I would highly encourage it. Thank you.
I don't know that we did a study. We're collecting data with the new tool that we got. And, you know, and to the number that you're pointing to, that is payments to, so that's our existing fleet and making payments into the fund. So when that car's wore out, we can go buy its replacement. We hope that it hasn't gone up too much in value. When you looked at these unfunded positions and you look at that police officer position for a biennium, for the full biennium at, you know, nearly $500,000, because we have to buy that person a car. So if the position, you know, so that 1.7 isn't new vehicles, it's replacement vehicles, funding for replacement vehicles.
Agreed, but I'm looking for the efficiency built in from the city on that behalf, so. Yep.
And if I could, I know there are a lot of cars sitting out on the streets because we don't have a parking lot, and I think December, maybe January. Almost all of those are being utilized. Our new staff do not take their cars home. We wait for them to finish their full field training before they're allowed to take them home. So that's why it appears that they're just sitting there. When they come to work, they take that one, their trainer parks theirs. So yes, I can understand when you look out the window of City Hall and there's a lot of our patrol cars sitting there, but they are being utilized.
Yeah, and I'm not even talking about the police or Public Works with their trucks and everything, but over the weekend, I counted 9 just cars, and then it was a smaller truck. So basically 10 cars just for the workers, and now we're gonna get 2 more EV cars. So then we're talking 12. I mean, where do all these cars go in the city?
The new vehicles are replacement vehicles. They aren't.
Or the 2 that we're sitting out?
Yeah,
Okay, so then we're back to,
Yeah.
back to 10.
Yeah, our engineers have vehicles to go out and do inspections. We have inspection crews. We have building inspectors. We have code enforcement individuals. Those cars are all being used all day long, every day out there. They do sit here. Those employees, unlike our police officers, don't take cars home.
Oh,
and they work here
right.
at City Hall, so those cars
And rightly so.
are left here at City Hall. The Public Works shop they come and go and work from the shop, and the pickups are stored out there, but there are.
Yeah, and we've always tried to right-size our fleet. I mean, we've sat down with the police department and went through that exercise when the chief first got here. Hey, we have 40 vehicles. Do you need 40 vehicles? And we right-size that fleet at that time to get enough spares, surplus cars that are available if a car goes down, an officer can step in. Similarly, DCD has grown over the last few years. So they started with like 2 cars, and now I think they're at 5, but their department has grown from like 5 employees to 20. And so they have a lot of inspectors out there that needs cars in high demand. Same with Public Works admin department. I think we just got them their first car last month. And so they're sharing constantly. And fiscally, we've tried to be responsible with our dollars. So DCD has been very, very good with us in that they've been buying old police cars. And so they, for the last few years, haven't been receiving new vehicles. Now that kind of comes back to bite us a little bit now, because now the time is to replace those with new vehicles. But they've been, as we grew, we're trying to maximize the vehicles we did have, get as much life out of them as we could before we could move on to the next stage. So we've tried to be very thoughtful in the ERR program.
Comfortable with that parks position and if we can find any other dollars that's going to streets, or do you have some other direction?
Nope, yes, that would be my direction. I think when you get into the workshopping of the budget, you realize there's just not a ton of wiggle room.
We're trying to find a little bit. Councilmember Diener?
So I just wanted to circle back to parks. I think it's generally recognized by us that we should be mapping out a future for our parks department. That's going to be a slow and hopefully steady progress. But I will remind that we have a comprehensive plan chapter 4, Parks, that has lots of goals and policies. And we did a survey a couple years ago that was pretty extensive, showed what the community would like to see in terms of parks development. And I know we're nowhere near there, I get that. But I would like us to take a look at that chapter sometime, maybe Q3 of next year, and look at what could be with what we've got. There might be some easy wins in there for our parks. So I just wanted to bring that back around.
Jay, you have some
I
thoughts?
was just waiting. The only thing I'd like to add is to the mid-biannual review list under personnel requests. If it's not there, I'd like to add Public Affairs Officer, PIO, however you want to rate it. I'll even go for half-time. We've talked about it enough. I'd like to at least keep it on the list. The website is on the list for the review. Those are the two items I was looking at. I fully support the parks person. I think it's a good call, Eric. And I also concur with Mark, if there's extra funds after that, to dedicate it to street maintenance. And I will go down in the weeds, so to speak. I also agree that at some point in time, and I think that probably second, third quarter would be a good time. I know, Mayor, it's been a kind of a vision of yours that sometime we do need to talk about, holistically parks as we grow larger, and whether we need a parks district. That may be time to start having those discussions, to start planning those. So I commend you. I think the budget is a good budget. Noah, you guys have done awesome with the department heads' work, and I'm very satisfied where we're at.
I agree with you. I would love to see us have a parks, but that takes a vote of the people. And my concern is, until we figure out how to fully fund Bethel Phase 1, remember we did a councilmatic 1/10. I hope we don't have to have a need to go to the voters to for an additional 1/10 that is available to us. And I would just caution us to not think about putting anything on the back. I would hate for us to go out, pass a parks levy, and then a year later we're going, but we need to fund this road, and the voters don't support the road.
That's not what I'm saying, Mayor. What I'm saying is it's time to put it on the plate as part of the vision of what we want. And so it keeps on our plate, so we don't lose sight of it, because we're a growing city, and we got to make sure that our folks have the services that they need and want.
And a lot of good work was put into that comp plan chapter.
I'm happy to put the PIO on the mid-year review. I will say, our $25,000 a year contract, and we've made some changes here in the last 6-8 months on how we manage that person, and in getting the outreach that we're doing. I think we're getting tremendous value for $25,000 a year with the person that we have. And it'll be a lot more, and then we've got even if a part-time person, the payroll taxes and all the other things and I've got to have a workstation and other things in City Hall. So
Just on the list.
happy to add it to the list. Councilman?
Actually, I second that from a different angle, from what Jay said. I was thinking more of the communication specialists. I also think that we need a half FTE. I will admit that there has been improvement in April since we had our retreat. We are getting more frequent emails and Facebook posts about practically everything that happens on streets. And I think what we still need to do is we need to actually make sure that those messages are digestible. Some of them are very technical, and we've sent around maps that it's really hard to decipher, like, where do you drive, where do you not drive? So I think, you know, this 1/2 FTE could help and make it easier for people to understand. I think they could help with, the website, the MailChimp, maybe even the C-Click Fix replacement if we do that. The other thing that I actually would support sooner is the Civic Plus website software. I guess what I was wondering about that is, does that have some sort of content management system that allows different departments to like add a notice? Let's say there's a template that says, you know, every message has to have these 3 elements. And so Public Works could do it. It could be funneled through Janine, or maybe others could just like be able to have that ability to add their own updates.
I have no idea what the
Okay.
capabilities of that software that Public Works is asking for.
I noticed
But it's
that-
on the, it is
yeah.
on the mid-year review.
And I noticed that it's also split, so it doesn't look like it would be all from the general fund, but hopefully some of the other funds as well. And under that, you know, I would also, I would definitely support that on the mid-year review and the software for the budget book.
And they're both already on there. So we're really trying to focus on if we're making any massages in the 2026 budget and what those priorities are. And I'm hearing really from 4 or more of you that it's parks, and any of the extra dollars is gonna try to go to streets.
I would support the parks. I would also support that we discuss different methods of funding the additional money that we need for roads. I mean, we can't take it all from the general fund. I mean, we have so many different things. So I think we need to start discussing, like, what are the other options? You know, is that extra 1/10 of 1% that we go out to voters for roads?
I would caution you, we don't want to fund road maintenance with that. That we would need that. I hope we do not need that, but we've got to fund these capital projects that we have. And you know, revenue source, and I'm not advocating for any of these sources. Paulsboro just passed a B&O tax. We have some of the lower utility taxes. There are tools in the toolbox, and I'm not advocating for any of them if you're looking for additional revenues.
I think we need to, if we're looking for more money for roads, for example. We don't have to implement them, but we should at least know what they are. Can we double the gambling tax for one?
I don't know that it would move the needle, but the two tools that am I missing anything? Probably utility taxes and B&O tax are really the two. Everything else would call for a vote from the people.
And B&O tax is gonna hurt our small businesses. And that's a no-go for me.
Could B&O
not a
be
good
only
time.
for the chains, though? Does it have to be for the small, everybody?
Yeah, you said it at a dollar amount of gross sales.
So Fred, for what's in front of us right now, you're not advocating for anything more than what we've heard? Okay.
No, I'm advocating for, as Jay said, you know, that we support the PIO or the communications consultant. But I also agree with the parks.
Okay, so Noah and I've got some work to do between now and the next council meeting. I'm gonna confess right now, I'm on vacation that week, so Fred will be running the meeting, but Noah and I will get this done before then and come back with some recommendation on how we can, you know, meet these, you know, these 2 directives you've given us here by defunding a few things within the budget. So.
And I just want to confirm a couple things on the conversation here, that if we have to end up cutting to the seasonals, this group is supportive with those kind of ideas, shifting timelines, anything we can do creative.
Going from 6 seasonals to 4 seasonals with the addition of a FTE is acceptable for our needs. Thank you.
Or if we can get to 5, I mean.
5 is the
Okay,
preference.
well, here's a thought. Do we, if we cut it to 4 and it gave us, so if we had some dollars, do you want, I hear the parks, we're gonna fund the parks. We're gonna find a way to fund the parks position. We're sure gonna cut, I believe we're gonna cut at least one of those seasonals. Would you want us to cut the second seasonal to create dollars to put into paving?
Yes. Yes.
I heard a no. Yes?
Yes.
Yes? Yes? No? Yes?
Have your 4 yeses.
I got 4 yeses. So it sounds like we're going to 4 seasonals, and we're gonna get this parks position funded, and any additional dollars we can come to, we're gonna pump up the 950. To put a
And
little
is
more-
there any target amount that we're looking for as we talk about transportation?
Well, Mark wants the 1.7 million, but.
Well, that's a big number. That's a big number.
I think the million.
$1 million at least.
Is the
I think we can get to 1 million.
50, another
I
50.
think so, yeah.
Yeah.
$1 million.
Please try to fund what we funded in the past years prior to the increases in material and labor costs.
Yeah, recognizing that we're still losing ground.
Okay, all right, we got our work cut out for us. Thank you. We are to our council committee reports. Economic Development and Tourism, I know you met.
We reported at the last meeting, I believe.
Did you?
No,
That was a work study.
I don't think we did. Yeah.
Okay, my bad. Well,
Want me to come back to you?
yes, give me a minute and I'll pull up my,
Utilities?
We haven't met after we had the tour.
Okay, you had the
We do
tour.
have a meeting
You want to
coming
talk
up.
about the tour?
No, we did last time.
No, you didn't, because it happened at the work study,
what happened before our
just
meeting?
like him.
Nope, it happened before our meeting.
We haven't heard about the tour.
Okay, I'm sorry, I thought we did. Anyway, we toured the Marina Pump Station. We had a brief on that. I hate to say it's a big hole in the ocean right now, but it's definitely a big hole in the ground. We went over, various, where pumps are gonna be located, the holding tank that's getting there, and had a pretty good vision about how high that the ground, that the road and the ground has to come up to keep from flooding. So that was impressive. I think it definitely would be worth another visit in about 6 months when there's a little bit more above ground on the concept. We had several maps that we got from Dennis that were greatly appreciated, gave us a little bit more conceptual of what's going on there. But right now, it was, we couldn't get too close because of safety concerns, but it was interesting to go see what we're spending our money on. A lot of concrete.
Did your shoes muddy?
Yes, I did.
And it didn't smell.
Yeah, go ahead,
I
Eric.
want to add that, Jay, you're not losing it.
I'm sorry?
You're not losing it. The tour was the day of the council meeting,
That's what I thought.
and you refreshed it that day when the mayor was out of town.
That's what I thought.
So you're not losing it.
So I was the one who was absent.
Yeah,
Okay,
I
all
thought,
right.
you know.
You're not losing it, Jay. You're-
Okay, all right.
But the report was the same.
Okay, I didn't hear the report because I was gone. Okay, all right, John, you ready?
Yeah, so we met on the 14th. It was a short agenda. DCD gave us an update so we've asked them to give us any information on pre-app meetings for businesses coming to an area. They had one up near the Kaiser building, and so a potential change of use there, nothing big. And it was just a pre-app meeting. We also talked briefly about the opening, LTAC RFP is currently open. I think we had a brief mention of the anchors. I think the only other thing was the meeting that we canceled in November with staffing and stuff, and so our last meeting for the year will be in December.
Finance, I know you met. Anything to report beyond what we've been doing on the budget?
Well, obviously, last week's finance committee was all on the budget that we all saw tonight. We saw at our work study. Last week, finance committee meeting was 2.5 times longer than normal because it was all on the budget. We had a lot, because all three of the council members on the finance committee this year are new. We have a great opportunity to review it in advance, get our questions together, ask a lot of questions, get a lot of great information from Noah and the mayor. The mayor presented his budget. We reviewed it, reviewed the sources, revenue sources, taxes. In the end, we all, after we hit them with our questions and got all our answers, we all were comfortable with the process and the methodologies that the mayor used in creating this budget that we saw tonight. That was it. Our next finance meeting, I believe, is November 19th. Yes, it's November 19th. How's that?
It's either that or the 16th, I can't remember.
I think it's the 19th. I think.
All right. Thank you, Mark. Transportation, you met tonight.
Yeah, so I'll read from my jumbled notes. Didn't have a chance to rewrite things, but so we had a transportation committee meeting today. For the first two items, we had SCJ Alliance there to help with presentations. The first was on Sydney non-motorized improvements, the improvement project. That would take place between Highway 16, the overpass, and Ruby Creek. It requires coordination with the county for its share of the roads, but also for WSDOT for the land that's underlying the overpass. It will be compatible with other planned and existing non-motorized infrastructure. We're looking at crosswalks and beacons, bike lanes within the right-of-way, so not separated. Road surfacing projects, gaps of sidewalks that require filling or, getting rid of those gaps. We talked about the addition of the sewer force main to Ruby Creek, the lift station there. And I think I already mentioned that. We're looking at $1.9 million for the sidewalk improvements. Most of that is through a Climate Commitment Act grant of $1.4 million, and the city's match is $550,000. Pavement improvements, resurfacing and those improvements are looking to be about $1.9 million. So then we moved on to Bethel Phase 1 and landscaping options for roundabouts, and we were presented with 3 alternatives. And I think any one of them would be fine, but we're not looking for fine. We're looking for something that is really going to impress people when they drive through Port Orchard. And so we landed on a couple that are potentials. We're going to bring that to the council. But I think it was a couple of them particularly really had good modulation in their designs, articulation, and it was a combination of natural vegetation, perhaps trees, but also some shrubbery or grass or perhaps rock covering. So look for more on that.
Talked about turf in one of the alternatives.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, we talked about
since in the roundabout.
One of the roundabouts presented sort of a grass outlier to the main internal improvements. And we were talking about what's it going to take to maintain that, and weeds and so on. And so turf was brought up, and I think Dennis, you pointed out that a playing turf lasts 10 years, so we could expect easily 15 or more years and I think you had mentioned you'd seen that in play in California, and that it looked really good.
10 feet, you couldn't tell.
Right. Yeah. We also had updates. I think we're going to be looking at a presentation to the council on downtown proposed alignment and working with Puget Sound Energy and undergrounding of electricity. Let's see. We talked about the comprehensive plan and Chapter 8 and the Transportation Improvement Program. That chapter, or that element, I guess that chapter is going to the Planning Commission. We're being asked to make sure that projects that we would like to see are shown on the transportation or in the Transportation Improvement Program. Mark brought up the South Kitsap Boulevard and the curbing along those bioswales and how they're generally just kind of crumbling. And so that will be something that we look at as part of the preservation program next year. There was also some additional discussion about bike lanes and connectivity and pathways. So did I miss anything?
Detailed report. Land use, I think you met earlier in the week.
We did. We met, the big topic, as everybody can gather, is the comprehensive plan. There's a public hearing with the Planning Commission on the 29th. We talked about the SmartGov contract for permitting, and there's also a change to the permitting that's coming up that I've asked Nick to talk about when it gets around to him. We canceled our December meeting, and we had one other topic about Salmonberry, that there was a impact fee credit for right-of-way, and that's the one that's right next to the storage area that got demolished by the tornado and rebuilt. So more to follow on that, because that will impact Home Depot, the road coming in, et cetera, et cetera. So more to follow on that one. And that was it in a nutshell.
How's lodging tax coming?
We have met. I think I reported already out on that last meeting. Closes end of the week, yeah? Or is it beginning part of next week? I don't remember the exact date, but RFP has been out for a couple of weeks now and closes either end of this week or Monday. I can't remember. I don't think he wanted to do it on a Friday, but I don't have that date ahead of me.
Thursday at 2 p.m.
Thursday at 2 p.m. Thank you, Ms. Wallace. It closes, and then we have our next meeting of the committee on the 30th, if I recall right. So we will do our initial meeting. And then depending on how that goes, we have another date in November scheduled as well.
Right. Anything to report on sewer advisory? I know you guys presented the budget.
Well, no, we have a meeting, special meeting on the 29th at 3 o'clock. It's to go through the budget, and Noah's taken a look just to make sure. We had the budget sent out to all the council members. If you've got any questions or comments, please send it just to one of us before next week, and then they'll take it to their board for approval. So 3 o'clock next Tuesday.
All right. We're on to the mayor's report. I got a few things, because remember, I missed a meeting. I just forgot I missed it. Just a reminder again, December 5th is the Kitsap Regional Coordinating Council Legislative Reception. Hopefully you're all going to attend and get Brandy, ask Brandy to register you if you haven't already, if you plan to attend. I attended I'm the chair currently of Housing Kitsap, and I facilitated their board meeting this morning, and some exciting news there. They had a piece of raw land next to Kitsap Mental Health on Elmira, and they were planning on, at some point, building affordable housing on it. But they sold that, and I think Housing Kitsap's going to net about $1.7 million on it. And we're not at Housing Kitsap in a place to construct things, but we are in a place to potentially buy an apartment building or do something like that. So that's really what we're looking to do with those resources, and it'll allow us to get affordable housing out there much quicker than doing a construction project. So that was the big item on the agenda at Housing Kitsap this morning. I got a request, and we've had these requests before, and it's for one of these the free public libraries, and Land Use took this up a couple years ago, and the concern was content. When that free public library is on public property, and something gets put in there that we would have concerns with. So that request, so anyway, I've got a new request. Do you want it to be sent to a committee? Do we want to hold steady on the direction that was previously given by the city council, that we just don't think it's appropriate on public property? Support them on private property, but if somebody wants to put them in. But thoughts on that, Councilmember Diener?
Is this request on public property?
Yes, it would be to put it on public property.
Well, I don't think what we'll hear now from another review will be different from what we heard before.
Councilmember
I
Roosevelt?
would continue our current policy.
Wanting to consider a different policy, or, okay. I didn't think so.
Can you tell us what area they were considering?
I don't.
No?
I don't.
I can't imagine any city.
It'd be,
Where you'd
it
wanna
could be
put
in a
one.
park.
Could be in the right of way.
It would parks, a right of way, you
I mean,
know.
literally on the edge of the.
Any, yeah, it'd be on public property, and that was the request. And I didn't dive any deeper than, I knew this was taken up by committee before and the direction that was given, so. I already talked about that I'm gonna take a brief vacation for a week, in the week of November 11th, so Councilmember Chang is gonna run the meeting on the 12th. Last meeting I missed, I forgot already, it's 2 weeks, here it is 2 weeks later. I attended the RMSA, which is Risk Management Service Agency, and that is our insurance risk pool, and I sit on the board. Brandy, for 10 years, served on the advisory board. So there's an advisory board of staff that then makes recommendation to the board, and it's a 6-member board that I sit on. And she was recognized for her, she just stepped off of that advisory board recently, and a slide was put up, and I took a picture of it, and I sent it to her she was recognized for her 10 years of service. We also received an achievement award for our claims management practices. And we were because of that, and I don't know where we're gonna put this up at, but we have it anyway, and a nice letter that came with it. The pool overall performed very well this past year, and unlike other pools that are seeing double-digit rate increases, our pool went up by 6%. But because a portion of your rate is derived from your experience factor or claims, Port Orchard only saw a 4.2% increase to our rate. So that's some good work by staff. You know, some of it's a bit of luck. We had fewer accidents and things of that nature, but there's an element of, I guess, responsible practices and behavior out there too. So, which credit to staff. I attended sessions at the conference on cybersecurity and overcoming internal control weaknesses. And many of the sessions I attended, more than anything, what we were doing, these best practices that I saw. So it was good to hear, oh yeah, we're doing that and we're doing that. And I didn't gain a lot for new ideas other than one morning, a couple of mayors were talking about the flock cameras that the chief has talked about previously and what a game changer they are. And so, there's a known felon or somebody's just committed a crime in a neighboring community, and all of a sudden they pick them up and they apprehend these folks before they commit crime in their community. So, Chief?
If I could add, you may be aware, but there was a pretty horrific double homicide that occurred in the county. County has been participating with Lowe's in Silverdale, so they had access and they were able to input that driver's license, and that's why Bonnie Lake Police Department, who does also have flock, was able to identify and locate that suspect in that double homicide. They have tremendous value, and we hope that we can revisit it next year.
So I was getting a number of testimonials from mayors what a game changer it is.
So the advantage is when multiple cities or multiple jurisdictions are linked up? Is that what I'm
I
hearing?
believe so, Chief, is that correct? It's when multiple jurisdictions have these, or?
Yeah, there's quite a few in the I-5 corridor. Yakima was actually the first department in the state that had a tremendous success with their stolen cars issues and a lot of gang shooting and violence. They track the license plate, and so anything that goes into WASC, NCIC, that's what's automatically managed. The data is actually managed by Flock, so it's gone within 30 days. That's not something that we have to manage, which we did before when we had license plate readers, but we can certainly, I know it's been a long meeting, so I won't take time tonight.
Just one quick question, is Highway Patrol engaged in that as well then, with?
The State Patrol?
Yeah.
I don't believe that they have flock cameras on the highways, no.
Attend a session on state of mental health in our workforce and sidewalk liability. That one was scary. It was an attorney that was giving that presentation. I have a monthly meeting with PBO, with the Merchants Association, Chamber, the Port, and Fathoms. And this last week's meeting, the Chamber is preparing a letter that to the building owners downtown to requesting them to paint their buildings. And Sarah Butler, I believe is her name, is also working on some, maybe a program where those building owners that can't afford to fully pay for it, to provide some assistance to that. There was a discussion too about faux hanging baskets, and the Merchants Association is looking into that as an initiative on their side. And if they're well done, I think that could be a great solution because they don't need to be watered.
I'll get my flowers.
We talked about parking enforcement, and I spoke to the mayor's budget. Well, it's not approved yet, has some dollars in it for Saturday parking enforcement. We talked about possibly a request to stripe the parking lot, the Merchants lot behind Josephine's next summer, and I brought that back to Dennis. And we've got, instead of icicle lights this year, I think they're gonna start going up later this week or next week. Tomorrow.
And that was my report.
Okay, sorry to
No,
steal
go
your
ahead,
thunder.
go ahead.
But Dennis, I'll let Dennis talk about the cool lights that we're gonna put under the marquee. Just a couple more quick things here. We got a request from, the county's, so phase 0 of the county's courthouse campus is the parking lot. We've been adamant that they've got to build the parking lot before they start construction on a new building, okay? They need to vacate, there's a couple of streets that they need to vacate. They've assembled a number of parcels to build their parking lot, okay? The process for that right-of-way vacation is, there's two alternatives. One, the county could hire an appraiser, or they could ask us to do it, okay? More than probably 8 months ago, we hired that appraiser at their direction. They don't like the appraisal, okay? The value is $250,000, $250,000 roughly, okay? They've been in conversations with the appraiser, trying to get him to change the value. He's standing firm. I've had more than one conversations, and I'm gonna have another one again tomorrow with one of the county commissioners about a path forward with this. We got an email today from Eric Baker from the county, and we have a provision in our code, and in my 18 years, we've never utilized this, that the city council could reduce that price or waive that, and I would argue against that, because when we annexed Bethel, there was a half a dozen or so parcels that were for the road widening that the county had, and they made us pay full market value for those, and it was far more money than the $250,000 that they're being asked to pay. So anyway, we got that request. I just thought I'd bring it up, and the reaction I'm getting here is that I don't see the public benefit to the citizens of Port Orchard to give the county that land, but
Here, here.
Councilmember Diener.
Mr. Mayor, I think it's been 5 years, maybe more, since we had a presentation from the county on the courthouse project. I'd like us to ask Eric or Tori to come down and give us a presentation.
I'm meeting with Tori and Commissioner Walters in a few weeks, and I'll talk to them about that. I don't think they have anything new to present.
Well, we've got a new
council members, that's true. That is true. So anyway, we're at an impasse right now. My recommendation, if you don't like our appraisal, go hire your own, or write us a $250,000 check and let's move on. So, that's all I have on there. And the special meeting on the 30th, are we far enough? I would like to incorporate a prioritization of the mid-year review items. Are we far along in this budget process? I think we are, that I can put a list of those together, and can that Are you guys amenable to that being part of that meeting, or do you have other ideas
I
for
would
that?
say it could be part of the meeting, but it should not be the main part of the meeting.
Okay, so it, okay, all right, fair enough. That's all I have. Department heads?
I have a question for you, Mayor. When you got together with the business association and for them to paint, is it the business to paint the building or the landlords
Would
to
it be
paint the building?
the building, I don't believe a tenant has that responsibility.
No.
It'd be the building owner.
Okay, good, the landlord, yeah,
Yeah,
gotcha.
the building
Thank you.
owner, yeah.
Or the, yes, thank you.
Mr. Ryan, you want to talk about lights? Sorry, I stole your thunder.
No, I appreciate it. Good evening. So just to build the hype ahead of the holiday on the harbor, so we've been regularly meeting with Sam of Josephine's, who's the representative for the downtown merchants and the organizers for that event. We historically put the icicle lights on the marquee. We have taken that budget and we are adding Edison bulbs, string lighting that will be attached underneath the marquee, so you'll have that Main Street Disney look. So we demoed the lights. It's going to be a soft wattage light, warm color. This will be year-round lighting. We're using the budget from the icicle lamps. And as the holiday season approaches after Thanksgiving, we will be replacing every other bulb with, so we'll have the white, we'll have green, and we'll have red for the holiday fill. So
We're even going to go with a green one in there. I only had
we're
red
even
and
throwing
white.
some green in there. So that starts, that work starts tomorrow, and it's possibly that they could be turned on as soon as next week. So looking forward to that. And we've got a tree selected, so we're almost to the day. So everybody's getting excited. Materials are being ordered. We did hear from the Sam that the stage is doubled in size this year with the fundraising efforts.
It's got video and
Yep.
it's a big deal.
That's my report. Thank you.
Crocker, you got anything new? You balanced that budget yet?
Say thank you for working through the budget process. So kind of here's where we're at. Got some direction tonight. We're going to go back and work the budget over. There's a couple other items, and I believe I've mentioned this a couple times, of items we've identified on the capital project side that need to be added to the final budget. So what you can expect is November 12th will be our second public hearing on the budget. At that meeting, I'll bring forward our final proposal of what the 25-26 budget is, including trying to incorporate the suggestions tonight from the council, as well as the other capital project items that I've identified, but I'll clearly identify any adjustments from this preliminary budget to the final budget. So that would come forward in a presentation on the 12th. We'll have a public hearing on the 12th as well.
So I heard public hearing, so Fred, that's the gavel's here, so I'm going to swing the gavel.
But that's a good point, so we'll have to make sure that Mayor Pro Tem was prepared for the public hearing. And then from there, we'll have the Finance Committee meet on the 19th. I don't know if there'll be anything left to discuss budget-wise, so I'll leave it up to the Finance Committee or at the work study session. Then we'll bring forward the final budget for adoption on the 26th of November, and we'll wrap it up right before Thanksgiving. So that'll be great. Couple notable items. Meanwhile, while we're doing budget, we will start our audit. So SAO is scheduled to come and start auditing us probably in the next month or so. So we'll have that going on. Also, recently I was notified by S&P that they want to have another follow-up conversation. So again, S&P was our rating agency on our LTGO bonds. That agency has since changed their criteria and their methodologies, and so now we have been put on a watch list. And so they're going to follow up with us to hear about how the city's going, and then I'll report back if there's any changes to our rating after that. Again, for the new council members, we had a great rating, a AA+. It's one notch below a AAA rating for the S&P, so it's fantastic, and it saved us millions of dollars on our borrowing, so that's fabulous. S&P just simply changed their methodologies, and I don't know exactly what triggered the kind of refresh conversation, but we will also be meeting with them the month of November. So lots of important stuff happening in the month of November. Last piece I wanted to share is, and I didn't know if Dennis was going to share this or not, but just a quick update on the water meter project. So we have installed, Public Works, I'll say, has installed 73% of the radio attachments on top of our meters right now. So that is fantastic. And they're still only 25% through the manual conversion, but that's a lot less older meters that we have to replace with new meters with the radio attachment at that time. So we expected that part of the project to take longer, and Public Works is doing a great job getting the radios installed. So that's going to expedite and lower our labor costs for reading meters. And hopefully over the next month or so, Public Works will be able to finish with acquiring the antennas and doing the installation. So then we will be on AMI. So that is a fabulous project moving forward. Again, I do have money budgeted in 25-26 to continue it. Seeing where we're at, 73%, I suspect we'll have to continue that into the next biennial period, but we're getting close. The mayor and I talked about it. We thought if we got to 85% by the end of this year, that is a fantastic project, great success for Public Works Department.
I got my new radio read meter this week. I noticed it.
Did I get one too?
I don't know. Your little thing on top of your water meter, this is different.
I'll walk,
It was
I'll
shiny
look when
and
I
new.
walk by.
Yeah. Mr. Bond.
All right, good evening. Couple of announcements tonight. First of all, I wanted to share that the comprehensive plan is very close, I hope, to receiving a recommendation from the Planning Commission. I believe Councilmember Rosa Pepe reported that we are having we're hopefully going to close the public hearing at next week's meeting. That's October 29th at 6 p.m. And so my hope is that the Planning Commission will close the public hearing, deliberate, and make a recommendation to the City Council. We are aiming to get the plan to your November work study for a final discussion and review. And then, of course, we have to adopt by the end of the year if we want to remain certified at PSRC and remain eligible for grant funding, and also able to continue getting loans and other sources of revenue that come through the Department of Commerce. We did meet with Puget Sound Regional Council staff yesterday and got some of their comments. They aren't too heavy in terms of the amount of work that is required to show compliance. I think there were 5 or 6 items they wanted us to address. So we are working frantically to get those into the packet before next week's close of the hearing. And I did want to report that one of the items, and this was missed, is that it is now a regional policy that we recognize tribal treaty rights in our comprehensive plan, and so that will be a new policy to our comprehensive plan that we are adding. And there's really just a couple of other minor things just showing our work more than anything, rather than any substantive policy changes. My next item is that council members had previously requested a code enforcement, like a list of active cases. I did just send that out this evening. It's a confidential report. It has some personal information on it, so we ask that you don't share that. And the next item at Land Use Committee, we had a discussion on the SmartGov permitting software, and Councilmember Rosa Pepe asked me to elaborate on that. We currently use SmartGov to track all of our permitting and code enforcement cases. That contract expires at the end of this year, and so we are looking to renew that. It's about a $24,000 a year software that has an annual escalation of 5%, and so that will be coming to council at one of your November meetings. We're aiming for November 12th. There's also a one-time fee with SmartGov because of a change in state law where we now have to track all of our permit times and report on them annually. And so we have to be able to show when we started and when we stopped the review clock on developers, and be able to show that we are in compliance with some new laws on permit timelines. It used to be that we had 120 days to review all permits. Now different permits have different permitting timelines, and so we have to report, we have to start gathering data on January 1st, and so we're going to execute that task to modify our permitting system so that it can do that for us. So those 2 agreements will come to you soon. Next, we posted on our Facebook page recently that Puget Sound Energy is working with the city to locate a couple of public EV charging stations in the city. They have a program where they use existing power poles and have EV chargers that you can activate with your phone by scanning something on a sign. The cable will lower from 10 feet above the sidewalk so that you can plug in your car. They only let you put these in areas where we have power poles in the landscape strip between the sidewalk and the street, because they don't want cables going across the street. So working with Public Works, we found I think 6 possible locations. Most of the areas where we have overhead tower and landscape strips are right around downtown. So we're asking the public to participate and tell us which locations are most favorable. And so there's a survey where you can rank them from most preferred to least preferred online right now. And finally, yeah.
So if a non-EV vehicle is parked in that space, is that a ticketable offense?
Yeah, we'll have to add that to our parking list of restrictions, and the PSE will put up a sign for us with that says EV parking only. Finally, just one announcement from the Economic Development Committee. I don't know if you mentioned this, but we found out recently there's an episode of House Hunters that's going to be filmed just outside of Port Orchard. And so initially they were asking for permission to do some filming, and we assumed it was downtown on the waterfront. They're actually looking at using the county parks just outside the city, and it sounds like they're looking at Long Lake and Purdy. But anyway, it's some good exposure for the South Kitsap region, and I believe they're going to be out filming in the next 3 weeks, and who knows how long it takes to produce an episode. That's all.
I got a question. I don't know who answers this. When you said the EV, you know how we have 2 chargers right downtown in the parking lot? Well, I was coming back from a walk and literally saw this guy pull in. He had a Tesla in the EV car. He got out and walked across the street. And I didn't go, hey, what are you doing? But how do you enforce? And then there was another EV car on the other side, not plugged in. How do you enforce people going down there and plugging in their car?
Well, our parking enforcement, it's a timed parking zone, so it's a 4-hour parking restriction. And so on the times when we have parking enforcement, we will write tickets. After hours, we don't have parking enforcement, so there is no.
No, this was during the daylight. Yeah,
Okay.
yeah,
Heidi, is your
afternoon.
question more about because they weren't using the charger?
Yeah, it was funny. I mean, there was places to park all over, and he just pulled right in there and got out and was walking over to Revival.
Is that potentially a ticketable offense?
Should be.
Yeah, well, it sounds like it was an EV though that was
It
parked.
was an
there,
EV,
right?
But he's
but they
not
weren't
charging.
but he wasn't charging.
They just used it as a parking space.
Yep.
Yeah, I don't know that our code is that specific.
And we've got 5 minutes until the witching hour, so we need to move a little bit faster here.
Anyway, I was just curious.
All right, 9:30, our meeting automatically ends. So, Ms. Schaefer, do you have anything to add to us?
I have nothing to add, but thank you for having me tonight in Charlie's absence. I really appreciate it.
All right, Chief Brown.
I don't know that I can go through this in 5 minutes, so I will be very, very brief. I was asked by a number of council members to provide a quarterly update. I think this is cautiously optimistic. Unfortunately, we cannot compare this to last year because we changed systems and we just can't. I'm certainly open to having conversation individually if you'd like. I was also approached last week by several council members about Port of Bremerton issues with noise down on the waterfront after hours. We have met with Port of Bremerton. They have signed our agency agreement for trespassing. They are waiting for some signage to be created and then it will go up, and that will give us the ability to trespass people that are down there not doing what they should. We'll continue our practice. If you're down there after hours and we are available and have the resources, we will be going down there and having people move along. Those are not the people that we will be trespassing. If there is a reason that we go down there for either criminal or civil issues like noise infractions, that may result in a trespass notice. Other than that, yeah, if anybody would like to talk to me individually, that way we can get out of here on time. Thank you.
Wallace.
Yes, good evening, Mayor, Council. So I did send out a doodle poll for a special meeting for the council. It's known as the brainstorming session, so.
Yeah, we talked about that in my mayor's report.
You did add a topic, but just wanting to confirm that we're holding that meeting with the council on October 30th at
Next
6:30
Wednesday.
PM. So we're going to go ahead and notice as a quorum, and you'll see an official email from me at
6:30?
6:30.
Our normal.
6:30, okay.
Yeah, 6:30.
yeah.
6:30.
Right
Did I
here.
misspeak on that? Yeah,
I'm gonna say a
6:30.
work study.
No, we're waiting for your official confirmation email.
Yes.
Rob did mention it, but it wasn't official.
That's how I understood it as well. So I just want to make sure that it is official. We have a majority, if not all of the council going to be there. It'll be a regular meeting. The mayor and myself will be there to take notes and to officiate the meeting. I'm assuming it's here at City Hall at 6:30, correct?
Yeah,
Okay,
and I would
and then
say
we
a work
will-
study, we'll set the room up here. as
work
a-
study style, and then I will publish an agenda with the listed items that was shared from Councilmember Chang, as well as with the doodle poll. Let's see.
Are you taking items then? Is that what I'm now understanding?
What was the question?
I wasn't planning on I thought it was you guys having an open discussion.
We had a starter set of
No,
topics.
you had a starter set of
I sent Brandy a starter set of topics, which she sent to everyone else. So that could be a starter set that you can either use or not use, and if you want to add to it, that's fine.
Yeah,
I would just bring
we're just required by law to publish an agenda, so if you can give me the topics that you're looking to discuss, I'll send an email out tomorrow letting you know what those topics are, and if there's an additional ones, let me know. We'll make sure it'll just be an open style agenda study session. So I'll get that out. Next council meeting, there'll be 2 items on there that I'm looking for adoption. One is the official newspaper dedication. We received 1 bid, so hopefully it'll be an easy decision for you guys this time around. Until we receive another 3,000 in population, then you can make a permanent one, but hopefully another 1 or 2 more years we can get to that point. And then the other one doesn't happen very often, is an animal variance public hearing. Notice has gone out to the adjacent property owners as well as the variance request from the homeowner. It is a request for 6 additional pets. So just keep that in mind that there will be a public hearing and you guys will need to make a decision on that. So as soon as it'll be published as part of the packet.
So Brandy, real quick like on that, I know that we don't have criteria to evaluate that variance, but perhaps other jurisdictions do that we could look at.
Great, I'll look into that and have it as part of my report. Let's see, and then earlier under consent agenda was the approval to close the road for the formerly Chimes and Lights. So council approved that for our local roads. Last week we did submit the application to WashDOT to seek approval for them to close the state highway. So once we get approval from them, we'll pass it on to Public Works. I don't suspect that they'll not approve it, but just a formal process. So that's all I have.
9:30, and we at least have to ask for our citizen comment period. Is there anybody online, Brandy? Okay, no one's online, nobody's in the council chambers, so our rules are the meeting ends at 9:30 unless there is a motion to extend and we don't have any other business.
Good of the order?
What about good of the order? Let's motion.
There would
have to
be a
extend the
motion to
meeting.
Extend the meeting. Is there a motion to extend the meeting?
Yeah, I'd like to extend it. I think it's fun to do the good of the order.
Okay, well, then there needs to be a motion.
Yes, I motion it.
What?
For good of the order, just about what?
To extend 5 minutes for good of the
5
order.
minutes.
Okay, I'll second.
There's a motion and a second to extend the meeting for 5 minutes to participate in good of the order. All in favor of approving that, say aye.
Aye.
Those 4. Those opposed?
Nay.
Councilman Warden, did you vote one way or the other?
Yeah, I said
Yay, okay, all right, so 5-2. All right, 5 minutes, we've got till 9:35.
Okay. I'll go really quick. Okay, good to the order. This coming Saturday from 3 to 5, Boo Bash. And last year there was 3,000 kids down there. So if you know anybody with, go down and all the businesses give out candy. So there's that. And then just an update, if you guys didn't get that fluoride lawsuit, they won. The federal courts ruled the fluoridation chemicals poses an unreasonable risk to health. And so I would like to bring this back in the new year.
Councilmember Rosepepe.
Yeah, I would ask that everybody read the 80-page judgment that was sent out with that. The federal judge has ordered the U.S. Environmental Protection Agency to strengthen regulations for fluoride in drinking water, saying the compound poses an unreasonable potential risk to children at levels that are currently typical. But the judge stressed he was not concluding with certainty that fluoride water endangered public health. Following that report, the American Academy of Pediatricians and American Dental Association stood by its recommendation in favor of adding fluoride to water and toothpaste. The CDC continues to recommend the fluoridation of water on their website.
Well, I hope you look at that court case.
I did. Have you read the 80 pages?
So Heather, good of the order.
Yeah, real quick. The stage you guys mentioned, pretty cool. I went down to Lowe's and, they're gonna cover all the costs to decorate the entire thing. So Kathy Wilson, those ladies just picked out everything and whatnot, so Lowe's is really stepping up big. So.
Nice. Wonderful.
That's great.
With that, our meeting is adjourned.
Boom.
Recording stopped.